Test, test, test. Hello, hello, hello. Got nothing.
Hello.
Test, test. Can? Okay, hi everyone. Good evening, Eusofians. Welcome to the 35th JCRC Elections Rally. I am Syed and this is Royin, and we are your moderators for today. The sequence of events are as follows. Firstly, we will have the Vice President internal candidate to give a speech, followed by Honorary General Secretary, Sport Directors, Performing Arts Director, and lastly, Media Directors. Proposals will give their speech, followed by the candidates. We will then end off the elections rally with a Q&A segment.
So now, let me introduce our Vice President internal candidate for this year. We have Chia Giovanna Isabel from the School of Medicine, majoring in nursing. Giovanna is currently in year 2 and these are her past commitments. Her proposer is Wen Kai and her seconder is Ryan Tan. So now we'll invite Wen Kai, her proposer, to give his speech.
Hello everybody. Hi, my name is Wen Kai, and my goal today is to help all of you understand one thing, and that is why Giovanna will be a great DPI. And this is why. So I met Giovanna back in year 1, where we first entered the hall. We were both in the fundraising committee of experts. And you know that people that always annoy you by the DH, the other staff. So yeah, some of the qualities that I instantly noticed about Giovanna is that she's a straightforward person and she knows exactly what she wants. So I think these are important qualities a DPI should have, because people look to you for answers. You're the right hand of president, and making decisions and knowing exactly what you want should come second nature. She demonstrated these qualities during our many fundraising planning, voicing out her concerns about fundraising products. We were brainstorming, suggesting better alternatives, and always reminding us to stay on track. Giovanna is also actively involved in sports and the cultural scene. She was and is in CCAs such as SMC, SPECS, floorball, relay, truck, drama, dance production, and Eusoff. So this is very important to being a DPI because one of your main roles is to represent the needs and interests of the horse family. While some of us love to call ourselves a sports hall, even some of us, we are no doubt a vibrant amalgamate of sports and culture CCAs. So being an active member participant in both sides allows us to hear the concerns and reflect the needs to both sports and culture scenes to the JCRC. So I think this will also greatly aid her role as a DPI because she can support and suggest changes and improvements to both the sport director and the PAD. So this ensures a more cohesive JCRC as she will be should be better able to relate and understand the needs and wants of both sports and cultural CCAs. And I think this is what a VPI should be able to do as a member in the JCRC. And I strongly believe that Giovanna can champion that. So additionally, Giovanna has a lot of experience in events planning and has been to many highlight events, hall events throughout her 2 years in hall. So her time in aspects as an FR head also led her through many important aspects of event planning, such as sourcing, writing proposals, meeting with RFs, and executing these events. I think this makes her an excellent choice for the VPI role because she has the benefit of those experience to plan and execute events such as Gel Camp and T, the Eusofians Awards, with great confidence. So Giovanna also possesses human management skills and admin work experience. Her time as the secretary in SMC and in charge for all TMs has given her valuable insights on delegation and being a leader. So all of these form an important arsenal of skill set to make her a more effective and reliable leader in the JCRC. To conclude, I think it's important for everyone to realize that voting for JCRC members, or any voting for that matter, is not merely a vote of who you like, who you eye candy, or who you think will be funny for the role. I know that Giovanna is someone that can and will represent our interests. and I know that she will be a natural VPI. So with that, I ask all of you to think carefully about who you want to vote for today and vote for Giovanna. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now,
Test.
hello.
Test. Thank you, Wongkai. Now let's have Giovanna to give her speech.
Okay. Thank you, Wongkai, for your kind words. Good evening, Eusophians. I'm Giovanna, a Year 2 nursing student. Today, I am standing in front of the whole hall, asking you to give me a chance to serve the hall as the Vice President Internal for the upcoming 35th JCRC. Before I delve into the reasons why I'm the best fit for the VPI role, let me share with you my journey in Eusoff thus far and how it has shaped me into who I am today. Eusoff Hall is a hall that changed my perspective of what a hall actually entails. Prior to coming to Eusoff, I thought halls were just a place where someone resides throughout their years in NUS. Needless to say, it was definitely a 180-degree shock for me. When I first entered Eusoff, to be very transparent, I struggled with imposter syndrome. It was definitely a pretty scary time because looking at all of you talented individuals, I questioned myself one too many times. Is this really a place for me? I didn't have my core spot available in hall, and I realized how hall spots are super niche that I felt belated here. But nonetheless, I garnered the courage to join several sports and committees to make friends and hopefully learn a thing or two. After my first semester here, I came to realize how Eusoff is such a different and most importantly, a special place to be in. Not just for one to reside at, but to continuously learn and grow. I've learned and tried out many sports like track and netball, and even became the floorball goalie for almost 2 years now. I also got out of my comfort zone and joined drama in my second semester, in which prior to this I had zero experience, but then I came to realize how much I enjoyed performing, and it's the reason why I currently have this today. I've never regretted joining a CCA here in Eusoff because of the people here. I've made so many close-knitted friends whom I am now able to lean on when times get tough, and to know that I would always have their backs makes me cherish my days in Eusoff with them. Shout out to those who are leaving for exchange soon. With that being said, the people here are always so supportive and encouraging that they have grounded me in this place. And I will want to carry on this type of inclusivity into Eusoff Hall for both prospective and current Eusophians. And let's not forget about the fighting spirit of this hall, which made me even more proud to call Eusoff my home. A home away from home. The role of a VPI entails being in charge of major events like JEL Camp and Tea, where JEL Camp, which is held at the start of the AY, is where all the leaders come together for goal settings and to implement the culture they want to see in their own CCAs. Whereas for Tea, which is held at the end of the AY, is to celebrate and give recognition for the hard work of Eusophians throughout the AY. Traditionally, the VPI also manages SPT and hackers as an ex officio. A VPI is generally the right-hand man of the president and should always be clear of the direction, and ensuring that both JCRC members and the residents are driven in the direction that is aligned with the visions and missions set up for this hall. So, many of you are probably wondering, what can I offer to our hall? From my past experiences in committees, I was previously in the block committee for E-Block, the secretary for SMC, and also the fundraising head for expats. All of these committees have pushed me to rise to the occasion and plan for events, lead my fellow members, and execute in ways that benefit Eusophians. After undergoing through these leadership positions, I realized that serving the hall and making an impact has brought smiles to so many faces and even to myself. That is when I realized there is so much more that I can contribute back to the hall, and this time round, on an even larger scale. Also, these leadership positions have challenged me mentally and shaped me into a more confident individual. Good time management was the key point that got me through this whole AY, as it could get quite draining to balance between hall life and academics. Additionally, I believe that I am a driven and hardworking person, and I am certain that having acquired these qualities have an edge on me taking on the role as a VPI for this upcoming AY. Getting the job done within the deadline is one thing, but having empathy and good communication with the people I'm working alongside are other vital aspects that one should have in order to lead well, and I believe that I am that person. If I were to be the VPI for this upcoming AY, it would give me a great opportunity to expand my reach to my fellow Eusophians. I aspire to be that bridge between the JCRC members and the residents, to have their voices heard and ignite the change that the people and I will want to see in Eusoff. By implementing a more holistic and dynamic hall life for the people here, I believe that you and I can work together to shape Eusoff into becoming a safe place for each and every one of you to learn and grow, progress together as a hall, and ultimately call this place your home. The vote lies in your hands, and I hope that all of you can have trust in me to lead Eusoff and bring Eusoff to even greater heights. Thank you.
Thank you, Giovanna. Next, we have our Honorary General Secretary candidate, Teo Sean Ian. Sean's proposer is Phoebe, and his seconder is Wayne. Sean is a Year 2 Business Administration and Psychology student, and these are his past commitments. Now, let's invite Phoebe, his proposer, to give her speech.
Okay, hi everyone, I'm Phoebe, a Year 2 Eusoff resident, and I'm here to propose for Sean, who's running for the Honorary General Secretary role. But before I get into that, I would like to firstly thank Si Heng for doing a wonderful job as HGS this year and ensuring that Hall was ran smoothly in an organized way despite the chaos that COVID-19 had held us in. I'm confident that Sean will continue building upon this firm foundation that Si Heng had laid to make Hall a better place to live in, together with the next JCRC. Today, I'll be sharing my experience as someone who has worked under Sean when he was the Social Service Director, as a co-committee worker who worked with him in elderly service last AY, and as a blockmate and friend for the past 2 years. As expats and elderly service co-head, it has been a pleasure to work under Sean in the social service sector. He has not only been an effective communication channel between the heads and SCRC, but also a pillar of support for the social service CCAs. Sean has been active in conveying our concerns to SCRC, as he knows that open communication is critical in ensuring smooth partnership with the management. My co-heads and I can be quite vocal with our opinions, and Sean never fails to lend a listening ear to us while remaining accountable to the feedback that we give by acting upon them. There were actually some misunderstandings that developed between my co-heads and I and the SCRC. Throughout, Sean remained impartial and attempted to convey SCRC's perspective to us. At the same time, he was unafraid to echo our concerns to the higher-ups, while also suggesting ways to work more effectively with the management. This has made our leadership and administrative journey a lot easier, allowing the social service CCAs to carry out our plans and have a fruitful and meaningful academic year. Furthermore, as SSD, Sean has a genuine heart to serve. Despite being in JCRC, Sean's heart belongs to the ground with the people working under him. For elderly service, he would make the effort to volunteer with us on Saturday mornings, and for expats, he has promised to try his best to help out with our summer event, even though his term has passed. Sean seeks to put himself in the shoes of Eusoffians to understand what is happening on the ground, so that his plans and suggestions are specifically tailored to us and our beneficiaries. My co-heads and I are grateful to have worked under him this academic year, as he has not only been a supportive pillar for the heads, but also genuine in bringing the social service scene to greater heights. Furthermore, Sean is a hard worker, and I was really impressed by his work ethic when I was working with him in Elderly Service Fundraising Committee in Year 1. Each member had to work on one part of the CNY fundraiser proposal, and Sean brainstormed for the room cleaning services. The quality of his work was second to none, as there was a lot of thought put into the planning, evident from how he took note of the smallest details, from the materials included in each room service package to the creativity of the names, and to the planned procedures for execution. Sean is meticulous in his work, and the fundraiser was able to reap the fruits of Sean's labor, with the bulk of the sales coming from the room service cleaning. Moreover, Sean was an inspiration to me as a fellow member in the CCA because of his hard-working nature. He clocked one of the highest attendance for volunteering sessions and even volunteered on Christmas Day. On a day meant to celebrate joy and love with his family and friends, yet Sean chose to spread this joy and love with the elderly who live in isolation. He has been a role model for the people working with him, and he inspires us to take pride in our work and the causes that we have signed up for. And more than a supportive leader and diligent worker, Sean is a friend who will go the extra mile. After the reshuffling of freshies in AY 2021, both Sean and I were allocated to E Block. As my friends were reshuffled to other blocks, I felt very alone in E Block, and I was often afraid to go for block events. But Sean, whom I didn't really know back then, took the initiative to invite me to join him, and that was the start of our friendship. Even though Sean may appear shy, he's a friendly chap who is genuine in getting to know people better and will go out of his way to make that person feel comfortable and accepted. From someone whom I thought had a perpetual sore throat, Sean had become a friend whom I can trust and depend on. He's constantly looking out for the well-being of those around him, And he's very intentional in constantly seeking to give, never calculating how much he should receive back in return. This may seem like a biased view, but the very qualities of Sean as a friend is what makes him stand out as a candidate running for the Honorary General Secretary position. He has a big heart for people, and specifically Eusoffians, and will be willing to serve in their best interests. Servant leadership is something that Sean exudes wholeheartedly. With his sheer dedication, through work ethic and altruism, I am confident that Sean is an excellent choice for Honorary General Secretary and will strive to do his best for Hall. Thank you.
Thank you, Phoebe. Now let's have Sean to give his speech.
Good evening, all. 1 year later, I am here again, but this time to run for the position for Hon Gen Sec. Some of you might ask, why do I want to run for JCRC again? Well, I ask myself too, and let me share with you why. Firstly, this past year serving as SSD, I felt happiness when I see my ideas being rolled out and making an impact in Hall. Next, I also felt a sense of purpose when I serve and when I work with members that have different passions with views about Hall. Lastly, I would wish to contribute in terms of the transition from the 34th to the 35th JCRC. Now, what can I bring to the new JCRC? One, I'm a firm believer of change to allow new ideas to flow in. However, I feel that there should be some continuity in change, and I will fill the gap in between the old and the new. Next, after interacting with the SCRC this past year, I will help the new JCRC in terms of communication and coordination in between the JCRC and the residents, amongst the JCRC members, with the RFs and master. Also is the experience with COVID measures and how we can prepare our hall for contingencies and ease transition whenever required. For Hall, my vision for Eusoff would be my aim. A in aim is how I wish our residents can achieve meaningful results together. I would want to promote greater concern for Hall affairs and that each resident has an opportunity to voice out and about what they really feel about Hall policies and try pushing for residents to have a say in certain Hall decisions. Next, I in aim is what I wish to continue from my SSD experience, as I feel that residents often struggle with balancing the multitude of Hall commitments, academics, and personal life. I intend to promote plans and activities for self-awareness and stress management to help our residents to cope with all these different commitments, as one can only properly function to help out each other, and for us to grow together as one Hall to achieve meaningful results. Lastly, M in AIM refers to how I will manage effective communication between the residents with the JCRC and SCRC. I hope to work with Celine and develop an official feedback channel for our residents to voice out their concerns, feedback, and opinions regarding Hall affairs for the JCRC and SCRC to get back to them. Eusoff Hall is made up of different pillars where the sports, cultural, comms, and services scene come together to draw a picture year after year. I would encourage cross-pillar events as we bond over our respective activities. As Hon Gen Sec, I would do my best in ensuring that the little details of Eusoff Hall are well documented and provide the relevant support for the JCRC to function. I might not be the loudest, I might not be the quickest, but I do know my stand and I stand by it as long as it's the right decision. I will listen to rational opinions and views before internalizing them to make the most appropriate decision. I hope that with this speech, it has allowed you to understand me more as a person and why am I running for this role. Thus, friends, both old and new, join me as we go forward together, meaningfully and create memorable stories, and have a Eusoff that we all want to live in. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Moving on, we have our sports director candidates, Luke and Robo. We'll introduce our first candidate, Luke Chiang. His proposal is Rishika and his seconder is Wen Kai. He's a year 2 psychology student, and these are his commitments. We'll now invite Rishika to give her speech.
Thank you. Can you all hear me? Okay. Hi, I'm Rish. Today, my goal is to introduce you guys to the Luke that I know.
to the Luke that no one really sees. Many of you may know Luke as a guy who jokes around and makes people laugh really hard, or maybe you know him as the guy who once made a really bad joke during Bash. But beyond all of that, the Luke that I know is one that is very brave, caring, approachable, genuine, and honestly, I know he's one of the gems in Hall that I would be friends with for life. I've seen Luke through a lot of painful moments, nights of tears, disappointment over track performances, and many more moments. But every time he gets pushed down, I've seen this man come back stronger and put in the work. He has grown so much since the first time I met him. He's never made an excuse to skip training because he wasn't feeling it. He always puts on a strong front despite all the chaos ensuing in his mind. And he works really hard to get what he wants. His humble nature and the persona he chooses to show everyone truly prevents people from seeing Luke for who he really is. I think he doesn't give himself enough credit for all that he has achieved. Luke has served as my track captain, and he has also worked with me in SMC publications as a writer. In SMC, Luke was someone who we could always depend on when we didn't have enough to send down, when we didn't have anyone to send down for commentaries. He always genuinely wanted to go down to support our athletes and give them the best coverage that he can. I know some of you must be thinking, oh, maybe he go down to look at girls, but no, that's not the reason. Luke is someone who loves competitive sport, and just by looking at his Insta stories, you can definitely see and tell how much he admires sport. As a captain in track, he was very dedicated and never once complained about doing anything for the team. He planned every training well and gave variety to the sport of running. And people genuinely came to enjoy the track culture, and even towards the end, when people didn't make the final cuts, Eusoffians still came down to run together at trainings. This year, the team was also so much more bonded, especially between the male and female teams. Even though Luke was not the female track captain, he always covered for the female team and helped us out when our captain, who is very busy with her law commitments, couldn't make it down. In hindsight, usual Hall residents would complain and say that their fellow captain or co-head was not putting in the work, but Luke never complained once about helping the girls' team. He cares for the growth of the sport and wants the best for every Eusoffian, even if they are not in the final cut. He also worked very hard off the track to bond us, and it did pay off. Luke also took the time to understand his runners and plan trainings around the sports they were in. For example, when I was overloaded with my other sports CCAs, he always reminded me to rest and told me that it was okay if I could not finish my workout. He always wants the best for Eusoffian athletes and makes sure that we stay healthy for the season. He takes the time to know the commitments of others. Luke also constantly involved the team in decisions which made us feel heard. In a conversation I had earlier today with a female track captain, we realized something very unique about Luke. He has a special trait that no one in Hall really has. When he thinks something is morally wrong, no matter how controversial it might be to others, he is not afraid to speak up for what's right. He's not afraid to stand up for his people, and that is exactly what I know he would do for Eusoffians. He's not afraid, and he's brave in always putting himself out there and saying things that others might not dare or even do. I know he will fight for what's right in the interest of Eusoff. Finally, Luke's heavy involvement in CCAs such as SMC and EW, together with being a captain, undoubtedly gives him all the relevant credentials that a sports director requires. He has worked on the ground and he knows the system. His choice to be in CCAs that support our athletes show what he stands for. Having worked closely with Bay this year during IHG, I personally know how important it is for a sports D to not only have knowledge of captainship, but a sports D needs to have knowledge of how SMC works and how EW works as well. Luke definitely can deliver, as he's been on the ground for the past 2 years, and he knows how things work. With that, I urge you to vote for Luke to be Eusoff's sports director as we head into another year of sporting greatness. Thank you.
Thank you, Rishika. We'll now invite Luke to give his speech.
Hello, y'all can hear me, right? Thank you, Josh. Okay, hello everyone. Firstly, let me reintroduce myself. My name is Luke. I'm currently a Year 2 psychology major, and I'm the current Eusoff track and field captain. I've been in both SMC publications and Eusoff Works photo wing for 2 years. Sorry, you're fogging up. Despite the lack of his positions, I think my active involvement in 2 IHGs, both as an athlete and the supporting roles for IHG, is testament to my commitment to Hall and my peers here. Eusoff to me is a place where I can hone my talents as a sportsman as a form of contribution to a greater cause such as aiming to win ISG. In this sense, it's a good platform for me and many other people to continue excelling in their sports with the support of our peers. Also, it is a home away from home where I can feel safe while continuing to hone my craft beside like-minded sportsmen and sportswomen. As for what inspired me to run for Sports D, it would definitely be how my fellow Eusoffians played their hearts out during the ISG season. Most particularly so when our Eusoffians were in a pinch but yet mounted a comeback charge. I'm sure one of the many matches that comes to mind is how our truck girls had one of the best comeback arcs against TH and qualified for the finals. I was fortunate enough to be at the track when our girls claimed the win, and the sheer emotions and the atmosphere was immaculate. Therefore, I want to be more directly involved in my fellow Eusoffians' victories. My vision first and foremost as a sports director, and like many others before me, is to help bring glory to Eusoff Hall by winning ISG. And that starts from the very first training that we have during AY22-23, and the first ever meal we have together with our teams to build bonds. After hearing how hard Eusoffians trained for the past ISG, through blood, sweat, and tears, I have full confidence that we'll continue to maintain the intensity of our training as we aim for the top yet again. In the background of us wanting to excel in sports, I also want to maintain or increase inclusiveness of the sports in Eusoff Hall. I think firstly, I need to acknowledge Brian Bay's efforts as a sports director this AY and how he had a goal to increase inclusiveness of sports in Eusoff. His initial plan to increase inclusivity was telling the captains to host fun sessions before the AY and at the beginning of the AY for the less experienced people. Unfortunately, this was not followed through until week 2 of the AY due to the volatility of the COVID situation during the summer of 2021, which restricted our chances to have more fun sessions. Therefore, I want to build on base 1 to make sports inclusive and continue these fun sessions now that the COVID situation has been eased. My reasoning for this is because in our pursuit of excellence as a champion hall, cuts are inevitable as we pick out the best athletes to represent us for battle in ISG. The impression people might have after getting cut is that they are not good enough and thus they may feel demoralized to continue their sporting journeys here in Eusoff. Being the captain of a CCA with no cuts, I've seen and interacted with Eusoffians who have wanted to pursue sports, but due to the short period of time between cuts, weren't able to hone their craft and improve their talents. I feel that we shouldn't put a full stop on these Eusoffians' sporting journeys, and we should have fun sessions or clinics in semester 2 as well. This way, everyone can have fun playing a sport while not having the pressure of ISG in the background. It is important to note and remember that not everyone enters Eusoff as an established athlete, and it can be quite daunting for them to suddenly be thrown into a hall that is always gunning for the top. I understand the question now is, will I sacrifice excellence for inclusivity? My straight answer to that is that I am not. Semester 1 should be dedicated to crafting the best team to head into the battle that is ISG. There's no doubt about this, and cuts will be unavoidable as we try to concentrate our efforts to train the strongest players. So, in semester 2, when the dust has settled over a great ISG season, we can regroup as a family of Eusoffians to play more fun sessions. This could be done by creating Telegram interest groups for more casual games or training sessions. Although these sessions are subjected to availability of bookings, I will, to the best of my ability, try and get bookings for said fun sessions. As for the athletes who are already excelling and making cuts for ISG, I will continue supporting all of you in one way or another through direct contact with the captains to understand the team's needs and worries. One issue I found while being the captain's group was how my fellow captains had trouble training at some points of the semester due to the failing to book venues on time. What I will do is to work more closely with my facility managers to ensure we get bookings. Some of you might know me as a joker or that I have a happy-go-lucky attitude. Although this might give the impression that I don't take things seriously, I feel that this quality brings me down to earth and makes me an approachable person. I feel that this is an important aspect to have as a sports director since I'll be working closely with the captains as well as the SMC heads. I believe that being approachable would help us in solving problems, misunderstandings, or conflicts directly. Behind all the jokes I crack, I still have the intention of doing things to the best of my ability. Some of you may hear me rambling about doing things for the sake of points, but how many times have you all seen me crouching and running to photograph your precious memories? The times I've worked to provide live telecasts for your matches and pushing out articles before the day ends. I think it definitely takes a substantial level of seriousness for me to show up for ISG matches on the weekly, even on the weekends. I feel that even though I have personal goals, my actions towards these goals actually line up with the hall's interests. It is from this that I want to reiterate my commitments in my 2 years in Eusoff Hall. Having been in SMC pubes for 2 years has allowed me to understand how the build-up to ISG and ISG is run on the ground. Timing is everything, as the TMs and LOGS members need to ensure that the 100+ is delivered on time. Albeit being just a pubes member, I have helped out with jersey distributions in the prelude to ISG voluntarily, as I understand how tiring it is to distribute them to all residents. I also have experienced miscoms between committees during the cancellations of matches. Although this year these miscoms were not as prominent, there still is a risk for these miscoms to pop up again, especially now that we'll probably return to a full-scale ISG. With Eusoff Hall being the next convening hall, I initially took up the position of convening head, as I was under the impression that someone in my batch would take up the sports director position and I would be able to work closely with the batchmate. However, now that no one among the year 3s and year 4s is contesting, I feel that someone needed to rise to the occasion. If I do get the position of sports director, I will actively find a replacement for convening head so that there isn't another missing position here in hall. I will work closely with this convening head to make sure that ISG is run smoothly, since it is such an arduous task to cater to all the participating halls. Lastly, I would like to reiterate my seriousness to restate my intentions to stay committed to the best interests of the hall. Let's have a better ISG season and create memories that will last a lifetime. Some would say the best is yet to be, but I believe the best has always been right here at home.
Thank you, Luke. Test. Test. Thank you, Luke. Now I'll be introducing our second candidate for sports director, Matthew Robinson, also known as Robo. Robo's proposer is King Han, and his seconder is Kehuan. Robo is in year 1, business analytics, and these are his current hall commitments. Now let's invite King Han to give his speech.
Hello. Okay, thank you, Robo, for giving me this opportunity to be your proposer. Okay, so I first met Robo from the very start of the academic year, crashing his orientation group often, and as his blockmate and teammate, I have gotten to know him a lot better throughout these past 8 months or so. Robo was a key contributor to the Eusoff sports scene, coaching both the girls and the boys team, and elevating each and every single member under his tutelage. As we all know, Robo's ability in touch rugby is unmatched. One could even argue that he deserves to be on the banner next year more than a certain someone. Despite his unquestionable talents, Robo remained humble and showed a strong desire to help and accommodate others who are lagging behind. One of the key moments that left a lasting impression on me was when I discussed with Robo about letting our athletic, albeit newer members, be more involved in our offense. It is easy for a star player like himself to disregard comments from a mere player like myself and continue to keep the limelight on himself, but that was not the case. He was open to the discussion and instantly made changes to his gameplay to be more inclusive, ensuring that the team had the opportunity to shine as well. That moment for me displayed maturity, humility, and his desire to create an inclusive environment wherever possible. After having a long chat with Robo, I truly believe that his vision reflects his care for people and displays his foresight in making executive decisions for the hall. Without a doubt, there will be concerned Eusophians who question a freshie taking on the huge responsibility of sports director. And for that, I salute Robo's courage and willingness to learn as much as possible, as fast as possible, so as to gain the much-needed experience that perhaps a senior would possess. I propose Robo to take on this leadership position as sports director alongside our newly elected president, Celine, to continue to enhance Eusoff's sporting scene and uphold our image, while facilitating the rest of the JCRC team in the cultural, services, and committee aspects of Hall. To Robo, I wish you all the best and sincerely hope you succeed in becoming the next sports director. Thanks.
Thank you, King Han. Now let's have Robo give his speech.
Hello. Hey. Thank you, King Han. So, hi everyone. Many of you might know me as Robo, but my name is actually Matthew. But please don't stop calling me Robo. I would just like to start off by saying thank you. Thank you for making my first year in Eusoff feel so amazing. I loved every single part of it. Not only did I feel so welcome to Hall, but I also felt the desire to contribute to Hall, to channel what I felt to others. One of the highlights of my year one life, as Keng Han mentioned, would be assisting the coach to touch rugby girls. It was a very long ride. From being down 4 tries against a strong TH team to beating them, and fighting hard against defending champions Kenridge, but eventually losing in sudden death. While being a champion is one thing, playing with a heart of victory is another. As athletes, it's easy to just travel down each training, much like a routine, play ISG, and end the season just like that. That is not what I think the sporting experience and ISG is about. It's about the process, the experience, not the gold medal around your neck. Ask yourself, would you remember the gold medal you won in ISG 10 years ago? Or will you remember the way you did it and how you felt? That's exactly what was all the more memorable this season. From the team cheering small wins, like Clay making her first crucial defensive touch, or to new players like Ian or LYLCs like Faith, scoring their first tries. To almost beating defending champions. It all meant so much because we played with our hearts, showing ourselves why, what, and who we are playing hard for, the Eusoff family. I felt that similar feeling in football too, this time as an athlete on the field, rather than an onlooker. When we beat Shears in an upset win, it felt like a team victory with my friends. That is the heart of victory that is neither shown on the scoreboard nor medal. And I hope to promote this process-driven mindset that focuses on the aspect of finding a family in your team while training hard. That brings me to my vision, an inclusive and encouraging sports family, which consists of 3 components. First, a hall that encourages individuals to try as many sports as they want and offers the opportunity for residents to try new sports they are interested in, whether or not they have previously played it competitively. Second, to potentially discover hidden talents or newfound passion. And lastly, to form intangible bonds with fellow Eusoffians, in which you can eventually say, I found a family in Eusoff. I have spoken to incoming President Celine, and I can safely say that our visions align, and I look forward to working with her should I become Sports D. I took a long time to decide whether I wanted to run for Sports D this year. I knew that in my possible 4 years of Eusoff, I would want to try running for the Sports D role to put my vision into practice. One of the ways to do so is perhaps by having a provisional period for Eusoffians to try out the sports they have even the slightest interest in, or even having interest groups that are separate from the competitive ISG groups. I did have doubts as to whether my lack of experience might impede on my ability to carry out the role of a Sports D, as I myself do not want to do a poor job. But there was this moment where I had an epiphany, which was, why am I not practicing what I preach? So this pointed me back to my why, to use my passion as fuel to take that leap of faith to try something new, such as Sports D or even a new sport. And I would like to empower my fellow Eusoffians to do the same. I believe that my why and my capabilities are more important in serving the Eusoff family, as the operations of how Hall works is a process to be learnt, in which I'm confident in my ability to pick things up quickly and to carry out the roles of a Sports D. As Keng Han mentioned, open communication is very important to me, and I plan to do so during my time as Sports D should I be elected. I am a people's person, and with open communication, I believe Eusoff will progress with excellence, and not only will we be the kings of the halls, we will be a community that we can say is our family. Thank you.
Thank you, Robo. Next, we'll be moving on to the performing arts candidates. Joel Lim. Joel's proposer is Rishika and his seconder is Valerie. He's a year 2 farm science student and these are his commitments. We'll now invite Rishika to give her speech.
Hello. Okay, hi, my name is Rish. Okay, so a little story time. Last week, I was having supper with Joel and friends, and being the sportswoman that I am, I remember sharing with Joel how I can't sing and how I'm not in any culture CCAs whatsoever. And usually I get teased for being uncultured. But Joel proceeded to conduct a mini singing experiment on us to showcase how everyone actually can sing. He went on to explain how singing works, and the conversation led to a deeper understanding of all things culture in Eusoff Hall. Although Joel proceeded to apologize for nerding out on us with all his cultural knowledge, I genuinely appreciated his sharing, and he piqued my interest in actually trying out for a culture CCA next year. Joel's patience and understanding in genuinely working to get people involved in the culture scene is one that is admirable and inspiring. There is no doubt that his efforts has made the culture scene more visible in Eusoff Hall this year through his run as a CMC and choir head. I had the pleasure of getting to know Joel better when I worked closely with him over the summer as his secretary-treasurer for REC when he was the project director. Joel is someone who has an eye for detail, someone who is very intentional. He has the ability to strike a balance between idealistic visions and practicality, and he makes things happen. He has a strong want to genuinely improve and give back to Hall. To him, it's not about doing something better than the next person. It's about doing everything he does well for the people, for the Hall, for culture, and even for his sport frisbee. He never lost sight of the intention of REC, which is an FOP to warmly welcome the freshies to Hall life and make friends, which he definitely accomplished. He managed to make Eusoff Hall a place that people wanted to come to through his work in REC. As much as I was his secretary working under him, I did not once feel afraid to voice any concerns to him, as he made me feel included and provided a listening ear. Joel's professional ability to communicate what he wants clearly and his approachability makes him a great leader. As someone who is immersed in the sports scene, he really made me realize how much our culture scene has to offer here in Eusoff. Working with him made me realize and respect the hard work that our culture heads and members put in. Their craft is really not easy, and the knowledge they have is truly insane. Joel is able to do this as he is able to get people involved in the culture scene by speaking the language of sportsmen without being bitter that sports in Eusoff may sometimes take the front seat. He does not view culture and sports as a zero-sum game, and he definitely recognizes the fact that one cannot flourish without the other. This benefits the people in culture, as when Eusophians become more aware of the culture scene and have more appreciation towards it, that's where growth happens for our culture scene. Joel is fully capable of making that happen. Joel is also someone who cares for the people he works with. It was through the conversations that I've had with him this past AY that I realized how much thought he puts into things, how he is constantly looking to grow as a person, constantly getting feedback from the people around him, and he is someone who is unafraid to admit his mistakes. Most importantly, I look forward to time spent with Joel, as he never fails to make the people around him laugh, and he makes people feel special. Joel is someone who has an eye for talent, and he is able to recognize the strength of others and pull that out of people. He pushes the people around him to be better, just as he did for me. Beyond clearly being a capable leader to take on the role of PAD, the heart that he has for people and the genuine drive that he has makes him incredibly suitable to be PAD. Thank you.
Thank you, Rishika. We'll now invite Joel to give his speech.
Thanks, Rishika. I actually didn't really listen or hear the speech prior to that, so it means a lot to me. All right, so hi, Eusoff. I'm Joel. I'm a year 2, and I'm studying farm science, and I'll be running for the current role of performing arts director. So as to why I'm running, I think as cliche as it might sound, I believe this is really a way for me to give back to Eusoff, to the best of my ability and my passions. Personally, I've had an amazing time being so involved in the culture scene in Eusoff. In year 1, after being a rag dancer and trying to psychomotor and dance, I've had a really great time being in a cappella, band, choir, and whilst also juggling other CCAs, school, and for that matter, life. In year 2, I've then been blessed with the honor of being able to head choir, CMC, DP sets, as well as rag. And major shout out to all of you. Love you. And I think being head of so many roles has allowed me to really be an active part of change, influence in the community, and I think that honestly means quite a lot to me. My vision for Eusoff culture is then quite linked to these experiences thus far. Simply put, I hope for people to be able to have a greater appreciation for the arts. And I think that appreciation extends far beyond just participation. To me, I feel art is a very, very ample space for us to express ourselves. And I think it's a means for us to holistically better ourselves and diversify. I feel that especially in Eusoff, we have ample opportunity to try out new things and build new experiences for ourselves. These experiences are rife with lessons, and these lessons can be applied to our lives and daily living. The idea of learning from our experiences is something that I truly value, and I hope that everyone will be able to play off the very welcome nature that I feel Hall is really known to have. Personally, I like to think I'm quite willing to try out new things. I've been in choir for 14 years, and I'm not too sure that's a good thing or bad thing. But when I reached JC, I finally decided, okay, maybe I should try out something new. So I decided to pick up a new sport that was Frisbee. And well, I think that mentality carried over in Hall, where I actively tried to put myself out there by learning how to play trug, and also joined other committees that I myself am not very comfortable with, like SPT publicity. Yes. And I personally felt very welcome in all these CCAs, and I want the culture scene to be precisely that for Eusoff. I think for all of us to have these opportunities to have fun, to grow, and to appreciate the arts, and not just to see it as just the one-off experience, but rather as something that can actually shape us to become better people. So how does this translate to the more tangible things that we could do? I think right now, as we are currently opening up in this COVID season, we could work to have more open opportunities for hall-wide culture events. For one, maybe we could have more open mics like this, where you can hear people singing, or having a large karaoke session. Perhaps we could reimagine open sessions for all the different culture CCAs. At the start of the SEM, I think we definitely had open sessions, but imagine now with more lax COVID measures, I think everybody would appreciate it. And if given the situation, I believe it would also be pretty fun and pretty great if DP could open up and increase the production scale to similar to how it was in the past. And I think all this is in line with what Celine is very convicted about bringing back the old and reimagining the new. Another thing that I hope to be able to do is to build up my fellow performing arts heads under me. I think there's a lot of latent potential, and although the performing arts in Eusoff is considerably small compared to the sports scene, I think small doesn't necessarily mean bad. Don't laugh. And I think, at least for myself, I want to be invested in the leadership, the growth of my performing arts heads. And I see a lot of value in investing in their lives, being involved with them, not just as a leader, but as a friend, growing together, learning together. In summary, I hope that you will be able to catch my heart. Initially, I was always under the impression that Eusoff is a sports hall, and I genuinely was rather scared coming into Eusoff. And I think King Han can attest to that. I'm really not a very good Frisbee player. I'm way below than average. But regardless, here I am, and I think the only thing that I can say is that I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the opportunities that Eusoff has given back to me, to lead, to serve, to be around friends that I love. And I think that made me realize that Eusoff is more than just impressions. And I hope that I'll be able to be a part of making this Eusoff experience better for all of us, should I be elected as Performing Arts Director. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel. We will now introduce our Media Director candidates. Firstly, we have Valerie Ng. Her proposer is Nat Chong, and her seconder is Fabian. Valerie is a Year 2 Industrial Design student, and these are her past commitments. Now let's invite Nat Chong, her proposer, to give his speech.
Okay, thanks. Hi everyone, I'm Ned, and tonight I'll be sharing with all of you 3 reasons why I think Valerie will make an amazing media director. So first of all, I think that you can see here, from her commitments, that she has a bunch of experience, both in publicity committees and leading committees. I mean, she's been in so many committees, and she definitely will have a lot of experience doing various forms of publicity, from design to videography, photography. And having led so many publicity committees as well, I strongly believe that this will have valuable experience for Valerie if she were to become a media director. Working in CMC with Valerie, something that really stood out to me was how Valerie was able to empathize with her members who did not have much design experience. Knowing how difficult it was starting out like that, Valerie sought to make the experience for them easier by giving concise instructions when delegating work, and by making the design process easier for them by guiding them along the way, by giving them mood boards to kickstart the design process. I believe that we can trust that Eusoff's publicity will be top-notch under Valerie as a media director, and that all who do work under her will have a pleasant and enjoyable experience. But me looking at all her commitments, right, really has me wondering, how does she manage all this, right? Which brings me to my second point, which is Valerie's insane work ethic. One must think that it takes mad discipline and time management to manage so many committees. And having worked with Valerie before, I can only attest to her diligence and her desire to produce work of quality despite so many commitments. And I must note that Valerie has a strong respect for deadlines as well and always seeks to deliver in time. And this desire in her has led to many late nights of her hustling, designing, and redesigning, such that her work is of standard. And all this was done for the sake of the Eusoff publicity scene. And I'm confident that this work ethic will continue on should Valerie become the media director, and she will ensure that all posts and publicity for the hall will be of quality. Lastly, I would like to add on about how I really respect Valerie's openness to feedback and her strive to improve continually on her shortcomings as both a member and as a leader. I think Valerie has shown much growth as a leader in the many subcommittee head positions that she has taken over the course of her 2 years in Eusoff. Valerie shared her reflections with me on the areas she realized she could improve on as a leader. For instance, helping her committee members work well together, smoothing workflow processes for her members, and most importantly, improving on her communication with her members such that delegation of work and work for her members were much easier. Valerie has also displayed much adaptability, as she is one who is more design-oriented, but having joined committees like SPT and CMC, she was required to learn photography and videography, something which was out of her comfort zone. But Val did not back down from this challenge and learned, rose to the occasion to fulfill the needs of her respective committees. In conclusion, I believe that Valerie has the experience and the work ethic to be a good media director and will run the whole media presence extremely well. But more importantly, I would like to emphasize on Valerie's willingness to learn and to continually improve on whatever that she can. Thus, I implore everyone to vote for Valerie, as I believe that Val will give her best as a media director, a JCRC member, and a Eusoffian. Thank you.
Thank you, Ned. Let's invite Valerie to give her speech.
Thanks, Ned. That's the first time I've heard you say my full name. Okay, good evening, Eusoffians. I'm Valerie Ng, Year 2 Industrial Design. And for those who don't know me, I've actually had opportunity to lead some very talented publicity teams for last year's EHOG and RAG. Yep, so that's my portfolio. I also happen to be the publicity head of this year's CMC and SPT and stepped up to the role of EW Design Head in semester 2. A little more background information on me is that I was a design intern in my secondary school a few months after my A-levels, and I'm currently a social media designer for my part-time job. So the MD is in charge of representing people in hall, our culture, our sports scene, and how life is like in Eusoff. MD is about the representation, the curation of the social media presence of our hall, and in this day of age where
And in this day of age where the content we put out are very representative of who we are. Media documentation is also extremely important to make Eusoffians look good, as it is the first point of contact for new freshies doing research on their halls. Next, an MD also needs to see the bigger picture, even more so than a head. With all my experience in handling the different publicity teams, I believe that I will be well equipped for the job, knowing the nuances in each CCA ranging from the more design-heavy, photo-heavy, and the video-heavy ones. An issue that I myself has faced during my time while working in AW and publicity comms is a lack of handover from the previous heads. When I stepped up to become a head myself, I was very overwhelmed by how different the job scope is as compared to a member. Besides just taking up the design job, I had to liaise with the different subcoms, link up the different EW wings, and to put forward information in a clear and concise manner for my members. However, I'm sure that even with a proper handover, this will not have prepared the next publicity head for what is to come. Because at the end of the day, the hands-on experience is going to be way better than a verbal hand-me-down or a master timeline. So instead, I wish for maybe current pub heads, to choose 1 to 2 potential pubs members to work with, assigning the role similar to a vice head, letting them in on the know while shadowing them, allowing a smoother transition into the role of the pubs head. I actually tried to do this with 4 of the publicity subcom members, and it has proven to be quite effective. So there may be a possibility that I might be going on exchange since I'm currently still awaiting news from the partnering school. But I want to assure everyone tuning in that I am a person of my words, and I will live up to any promise and commitments that I have made. To those who have worked with me before, I hope that my work ethics can speak for itself. Next, an issue most commonly faced by the EW wing is a late request for photography, videography, and live stream. This stems solely from the lack of understanding between the comms, cultures, and sportsmen. In my time as MD, I wish to properly gel all 3 of these CCAs together to form a mutual understanding without any grievances. Finally, there is definitely a lack of media talents in Eusoff to the point where publicity teams are hard to form. Yes, Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere Pro skills can be taught, but from experience, given our busy schedules, we were not able to set aside workshop hours, nor able to find good teaching content, since everyone learns differently. Thus, even though workshops and teaching sessions would be a great idea, I sincerely believe that it would be much easier if we were to improve on the people who already has a basic foundation in this software. Thus, the root issue of the design comms not having enough members will lie in the recruitment of new Eusoffians. The skill set that media comms need is very niche, a completely different skill set as compared to culture and sports. Thus, I propose for the recruitment of more freshmen with media expertise, like how we are recruiting experienced sportsmen to win IHG. And to end it off, I hope that all of you would be willing to entrust me with this role and vote for me. I wish to make Hall a more understanding space with clear, transparent communication while pushing for greater heights. Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie. Our next candidate is Aza Atifah. Her proposal is Vanilla, and her seconder is Klaus. She's a year 1 Aki student, and these are her commitments. Her proposal, Vanilla, is unable to make it, so we'll be watching a video of her speech.
And I'm here tonight as Azik's proposer for Media Director. I strongly believe in Azik's passion and experience in visual arts and media, which is why I'm confident she will excel and transcend the efforts of her predecessors if given this role. Along with having a keen eye for detail and an intuitive understanding of aesthetics and design, Azik's experience in a media and publicity role extends beyond her numerous hall commitments and into her own entrepreneurial pursuits, such as her business, Henna Flair. Since the age of 16, she has built her business from the ground up, single-handedly managing the marketing, publicity, and branding of her company by capitalizing on multiple social media platforms and her own media prowess. The success and growth of her business is proof of her ability to utilize a variety of different medias to capture a message in ways that resonate with her audience, which is a rare skill to have. These technical skills shine through in her projects in Hall, from the content displayed on our dance production Instagram page, to the hundreds of photos she edited of you and your friends during the numerous photo booth events under EW. Churning out this amount of fresh and original content is definitely no easy task, and this speaks to the level of hard work, commitment, and extraordinary creativity that Aza possesses. Not only this, but her drive and vision for Eusoff Hall is a strong reason for my endorsement, where she intends to create a vibrant and supportive community for experienced and budding creators alike to learn and grow together. My conversations with Aza allowed me to share her aim in driving the hall to become a holistic and creative environment with the proper infrastructure to support the hidden talents within our diverse community of sportsmen and performers. She hopes that this will in turn help to ensure that all parts of Eusoff's wonderful culture will receive the attention and recognition deserved, as the visuals and media created start to reflect and convey the values and traits we all hold dear, without compromising on authenticity and aesthetics. Thus, I will leave her to explain further on the plans she hopes to achieve in becoming the next media director.
We'll now invite Aza to give her speech.
Good evening, Eusophians. Thank you for taking the time to come down for this rally. My name is Aza Atifah. You guys know me as Azek. I'm a Year 2 student pursuing landscape architecture, and I'm a candidate for the 35th JCRC as a media director. Next, please. For the past year, I was able to contribute my proficient media skills when I was a publicity member for Eusoff's dance production, as well as Salvation Army. As a publicity member, I was tasked to brainstorm photoshoot concepts for DP, conduct photoshoots for over 80 members, and edit the photos to be posted online. And last but not least, design the DP public shirt. Next, thank you. Whereas in Salvation Army, I utilized my Photoshop skills to create our Instagram content which introduces our members. In Eusoff Works Photography, I participated in CCA photo shoots, event photo booths, and coffee event where I was tasked to shoot and edit over 100 photos. It brings great joy to me knowing that I'm able to capture these precious moments for Eusophians to reminisce, as well as portray the strong community found in Eusoff Hall on social media. Throughout this experience, I developed a strong passion to make a difference to Eusoff's media and publicity as a whole. Next, please. My vision is to promote Eusoff as an all-rounded hall. I would like to create a safe space for aspiring media creators to unleash their potential and produce impactful publicity materials for online purposes. Media contents as such aims to showcase the vibrant community in Eusoff and leave a lasting impression to viewers online. I believe that with my relevant experiences in publicity, designing, and marketing, along with the vital skill sets that I possess, I'm able to contribute and bring Eusoff's media scene to greater heights. Next. My experiences in media extends beyond academics and motivated me to be an innovative designer and a responsible leader. Next. I am the founder of Henna Flair, a henna business I established in 2016. Since then, I have been managing the business as a one-woman show. For example, I planned corporate events, bridal events, and henna workshops. I was proactive enough to purchase reliable resources internationally to create my own products, create publicity content, and market my brand. Next. And through this experience, it motivated me to become an innovative thinker and designer. With my knowledge in social media, marketing, and publicity, I will adapt and map it against the demands found in Eusoff Hall. With this capacity to adapt and persevere, I am certain I can lead the Eusoff's media team to the next level. Here you can see that I created social media accounts like Instagram, TikTok, so you guys can just scan the QR code if you guys want to check it out. Yeah, and you guys can just see how much I've come thus far. As a media director, responsibility is a key value. It is one of the most important values I inculcated from my experiences as a business owner. This involves me having to be dependable and honoring my commitments in order to finish my tasks. Media directors are tasked to manage Eusoff works to coordinate events and create fresh and unique publicity content to market Eusoff on various social media platforms and more. With this level of exposure as a young entrepreneur, I would like to contribute to Eusoff Hall with the necessary skills and experience that I have to be the next media director. Through my experiences in Henna Flare, I learned the importance of good communication skills. It is the foundation of any relationship, especially in Eusoff Hall, which involves a large group. It can take the form of conveying instructions or information to fellow team members. Or it can be as simple as setting clear expectations and deadlines and standards of Eusoff's media. A leader may have a clear vision, but unless communication is a driving value, others will not be able to work towards the same goal. Next. Sorry, one back, yeah. Pertaining to the current media in Eusoff Works, I understand that there are existing trainings conducted at the start of each semester to teach Eusoff Works members who lack experience in terms of media. This is a good practice. However, I feel that there should be more consistency by conducting monthly trainings which can potentially help to improve the standards of Eusoff's media. As a media director, I always believe that we should not be complacent and always strive to improve ourselves as individuals and as a team. Therefore, I would like to enhance existing strategies and propose new ideas in order to achieve the vision of Eusoff being an all-rounded hall. Next, please. Firstly, as a henna artist in the wedding industry, I developed a strong network with photography and videography companies. For example, I've collaborated with Studio 5, a company which provides services for photography, video production, animation, printing, graphic design, and web development, all of which are relevant to Eusoff Works. Hence, I would like to tap on this existing connection that I have by inviting experienced members of the industry to conduct training or workshops in the future for Eusoff. And this is a strategy that has never been done before, and I would love to especially invite my friends in the media industry to conduct special trainings for Eusoff. I would like to open this opportunity for all Eusoffians, not just EW members, because I believe that everyone has the potential to showcase their creativity. Secondly, I would like to create a safe space where any individuals feel welcome and is comfortable to learn in. This strategy hopes to motivate aspiring media creators and ideate ways to publicize our hall. I understand how pressurizing it is to not be as skillful as those around you, but that should not hinder your willingness to learn and grow. With a good mentor or leader, I strongly believe that the potential of EW members would be more motivated to improve their skills and produce captivating design content. Therefore, by creating a safe environment to learn more about media, the possibilities that we can achieve are endless. Last but not least, I would like to enhance existing strategies such as establishing the importance of meeting deadlines so as to not cause delays in timeline. As a landscape architecture student, I understand the importance and urgency of deadlines, and I plan to create an effective structured framework with incentives provided when content is delivered before the deadline. For example, use of scheduling softwares. There are apps such as Calendly. So the way to do this is to evaluate what's required, create a detailed plan, as well as monitor the progress of the EW members. Next, please. In conclusion, the position of media director should be awarded based on their capabilities. Despite being a junior, I believe that the relevant experience, expertise, and strong network I have will definitely be an asset to the 35th JCRC as a media director. Furthermore, I am an adaptive individual who is willing to take on any task given and will execute it to the best of my abilities. I will ensure that my dedication and enthusiasm of being a media director reverberates throughout Eusoff Hall for the whole of Semester 1 and Semester 2. I hope that you will vote for me as your media director, as I strongly believe that I have the right attitude and aptitude for Eusoff to soar to a higher altitude. Thank you.
Thank you, Aza. We have now come to the end to the introduction of all the candidates. We will now have a 7-minute intermission and will be back at 10:22. You can access the link to the website on Channel EH on Telegram, or alternatively enter the code into Mentimeter. Do remember to state your name, year, and block along with your questions. Thank you. Hi everyone. Can the candidates please return to your seat? Okay, hi everyone. Welcome back to the 35th JCRC rally. We will now be starting our Q&A segment. I will first open the floor to the current 34th JCRC for their questions to the current candidates. And afterwards, I will read the questions posted on Mentimeter. Once again, please be reminded to include your name, year, and blog for the questions on Mentimeter. Now, I'll be opening the floor to the current JCRC members.
Hello. Okay. It's just a generic question for everyone, lah. But I would like to ask, right? What do you think that the 34th JCRC could have improved on for your role, and how do you intend to improve that in the following year? First three, yeah.
Okay, to add in, each candidate has 2 minutes to answer. Once the timer runs out, please wrap up your answer ASAP. Thank you.
Firstly, I would like to say that actually the 34th JCRC was quite a good team. But I feel that one thing that could have improved on it was the transparency of things. Because I feel like yesterday, as you know, everyone was like talking about, hey, why this guy got like same points as me, but then like I can't stay, then he can stay. And for me, I feel like the explanation wasn't very clear. Like, it didn't come directly from the JCRC also. We had to ask around and say like, you know, oh, this guy, cause like apparently they're higher up on the priorities because of their contributions to hall. What I feel like I can do as an improvement to this is probably take advantage of Telegram's forward function, because I think a lot of people like to spread rumors based on this function, like, and say like, oh, yeah, he really said this because you can see forwarded from like, let's say Luke Chang. But I feel like if it comes from a JCRC member and it says forwarded from Luke Chang, right? Like, assuming I get the role of sports D, it actually still carries some form of weightage to how authentic and how genuine the answer is. Yeah. As for how I can improve as a sports D on base role, I feel that at first, for me, I wasn't so affected because on the hall level, you can't really book the track. But I think a lot of like the soccer girls, the truck girls, and all that had problem getting like bookings for the field. So from what I understand is you need to camp for the 9 p.m. booking slot. So what I think I would do is maybe, I think this requires a bit of micromanagement for the FMs, especially working them very closely. Maybe be more empathetic towards them and like camp with them at 8:50 and then make sure like, okay, we got it at 9 p.m. and then we got it, then it's send it, like, yeah, we got it, and then like the other house don't have it. So yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Hi. So I think with regards to the previous JCRC role, I would like to think, at least for the performing side, right? This year, I would think that generally the culture scene really thrived. So I think that in itself is of praise. I think for CMC side, we've managed to produce a lot of events. I think for all the different culture CCAs as well, we've actually had the pleasure and to actually be able to perform. I think that in itself is deserving of praise, and I think that wouldn't have been possible without any clear guidance. So that's the first thing. So credit due as due. I think secondly, on top of that, I think for new initiatives, that's something that I'm really quite impressed with. I think for this year, Leichun managed to produce the DYOM. I think that sets a lot of grounds for new opportunities in terms of music editing. On top of that as well, I feel, especially in Sem 1, considering the COVID situation, most of the culture CCAs were actually mitigated quite well. I feel that in as much as we didn't have a lot of practices or something to look forward to, considering that like Cult Night was postponed and stuff, I feel that all the culture heads were able to catch on and able to survive quite well. I think in terms of what would be good to be, I guess, improved on, I think personally as a cult head, I felt Leichun was quite unapproachable and quite scary. So I think that would be something that I would personally like to hold quite tightly to. I think it's very important to be able to work well with the people around you. And I think, not saying that I'm a people's pleaser, but I think it's of something that I would like to work on for myself. Then I think one other point, wait, am I overrunning? I think one other point also would be regards to the point allocation system. I think personally for myself, especially for this year, because IHG did happen, I think I'm able to see both sides for the sports side as well as the culture side. I feel that the sports people really put in a lot of work, but I think in terms of the general weightage, it's something that's very difficult to balance, and a lot of people have grievances with it. So I think it's a continual problem that the JCRC has to continually work with and put a lot of effort to planning.
So with regards to that question, a current strategy that Eusoff Works is doing is that they are tasked to teach the freshies who just entered the CCA. So this varies from Eusoff Photography, Eusoff Works videos. And based on experience, I entered Eusoff Photography when I was in Sem 2. And we were learning in a big group, and some may feel that it is not exactly a conducive environment to live in, which is why I feel like it's important to have this mentor and mentee practice in Eusoff Works CCA. So for example, we can break into smaller groups and conduct more internal trainings regularly. And with regards to the enhanced measure that I would like to implement by bringing in experts from the industry, this can eventually help to grow the standards of Eusoff's media. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hello. Okay, this question is for those who are running with competitors. Why do you think you're better than your other competitor running for your role? Yeah, that's it.
Hi. Okay. So why am I better? Mainly it's because of experience. I do have a lot of experience, and I know the little nuances that we have to do in order to make a team work, in order to make a team gel better. So there is a lot of thought process that goes behind, say, even sending Telegram messages, scheduling messages to make sure that people do their job better. So I would say that this experience part really gives me the boost, and also especially because I was in EW design, and because there's a lot of information in the entire EW chat that actually gave me a lot of insights into what EW actually is. So from all these messages, from all this, I could see and think of the different ways to like improve on EW itself. Yeah.
For me, I'd like to repeat the experience that I've garnered in Eusoff as compared to my talented competitor. I acknowledge that Robo is a fantastic athlete, a truck god even. I've been in SMC publications for 2 years, as well as Eusoff Works photo wing. I would think that this has given me exposure to the workings and the behind the scenes of IHG. As an SMC member, I understand the hardships that come with logistics, such as jersey distribution, as well as delivering welfare on time for matches. Being in Pils has made me more aware of sports that I previously did not know about, such as squash, as I had to provide commentary for the play-by-play. It has also made me more aware of the importance of being punctual and the importance of supporting roles of ISG. Although the results of our sports in ISG is of utmost importance, there can't be ISG without a well-oiled team, which is SMC. I've been part of this well-oiled machine for 2 years, and I think it would be a waste to not put my experience to work.
I think first I'd like to say that I believe Luke is really passionate about the hall and I really respect him for that. But I think one thing that stands me out is actually how I've been in a team sport all my life. And over time, I've actually learned how to work with people and how to work on my communication effectively with them. And with that experience, I believe that I can use that to my advantage to essentially reach out to more Eusophians. During my time as a freshie, I always tried my best to reach out to the seniors and try to get to know them better and bond with them. But that being said, I felt that sometimes it was only a one-way street. And with that in mind, and my already ingrown desire to meet more people, I'll use what I already did with B block to expand it to the other blocks as well. And eventually I'll get to know more of the people of Eusoff and do what's required to carry out the role as a sports D. Thanks.
So some of you may have some concerns about how I'm going to adapt to the system. After all, I am a junior, and yes, Val has definitely contributed a lot for Eusoff Hall. And there's no denying any change requires time. The real question is how fast and how efficient one can be. I would like to emphasize the value of being adaptive. A person is described to be adaptive when the individual has the capability to read and understand the environment and is able to use his or her skill sets according to the demands of the context he's in our case, Eusoff Hall. I am a polytechnic graduate where hands-on activities are heavy on curriculum. The academic learning curve in NUS is rather steep, but I climbed on and I persevered. And this is the attitude I will bring with me if selected as a media director. And with my knowledge in social media, marketing, and publicity, I will adapt and map it against the demands in Eusoff Hall. So with this capacity to be adaptive and persevere, I am certain that I can lead Eusoff's media team to the next level.
Sorry, I have one more question specifically for Sean. So as a previous JCRC member, why do you feel like changing to the Hon Gen Sec position instead of staying in your own role or moving to a role of supposedly more responsibility, such as the VP, would be better?
Okay. The reason why would I want to run again is because I feel a sense of purpose to serve this hall. But why did I move out from my previous role as SSD? Is because I always believe that there should be an inflow of new ideas. And for me to be continuing to be part of this JCRC team, I would still be able to contribute to the JCRC in terms of voicing out my opinions and my ideas for the social services scene. But yet, at the same time, it will be able to allow new ideas, new personnel, new people to come in with new activities that they can plan for the social services scene. As for whether I should take up a position with more responsibilities, such as a VP, Okay, this is partly due to my personal trait. I am a person that I would work well and work better behind the scenes. So as a HGS, I would be able to support my VPs and my president in form of admin support, as well as my experience past year. Yeah, that's mainly my reason. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, okay, so the first question is directed to Azek. So Azek, as a freshie, how things might be unfamiliar to you, such as hall system, hall point system, or even the logistics of EW. So how are you going to ensure that you are prepared for the position to ensure that the hall has still has a good running image?
I think first and foremost, it's very important to understand your responsibilities and the tasks and your expectations. So I plan to be in contact with Kiana more before my role as a media director. And after all, she was my senior from Singapore Polytechnic. So I believe we already have that strong bond and it's easier for us to communicate with one another. And with that, I believe that I can help to contribute as a media director.
Then, sorry, one more question for Valerie this time round. Yeah. So to Valerie, since you are going for an exchange program, not being physically there for half a semester, how will you ensure that your responsibilities will not trickle down to other JCRC members? Or how are you going to be able to cope as an MD without a physical presence in hall?
Okay, so what I plan to do is actually to train my subcommittee members to the point where they do not need that much technical support from me. So I will also make it a point for all the publicity comm heads to actually liaise with me on a daily basis. Oh, sorry, not a daily basis, a regular basis, yes. So that I know what's going on at every single phase, as after all, it is good practice. So I will initiate communication with my team through a neater platform than Telegram. And right now, I actually have been using Discord channels because it's way neater and it's been working quite well. I will definitely be front-loading all of my things into SEM 1 so that during SEM 2, there won't be much things I will need to come down physically for. Yeah, and I also think that since I will be doing more for SEM 1 because around that period of time, it will set a good precedence. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, so this question is from Regina to the VPI. So you mentioned just now on your speech that you want to implement a more dynamic and holistic hall life. But you can do this without even being the VPI. So what are some deliverables you wish to implement as a VPI to see this?
Okay, thanks Regina for the question. Yeah. Okay, so I believe that as a VPR, right, I can be the bridge to between the residents and also the JCRC members. So how can I implement a more dynamic and a holistic life for Eusoffians is by creating platforms where people can actually voice out their concerns regarding basically anything. It could be regarding the COVID situation, of how the measures will be eased and on, or also can be facility management where they are complaining about some issues within the infrastructure. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
This question is directed to the PAD. So, while the other nominees approach the current JCRC members to inquire more about the role, why do you not approach the current PAD about your role? How can you be sure that you are fit for the role or your plans are something feasible without being aware of the full job scope of the PAD?
Hi, Chen. Thanks for the question. So I think to give some context first. So yes, I think without a doubt, I didn't approach Li Shun at all with regards to the PAD role at all. I think personally that comes from not of pride or not that like I could do it, or like honestly, because I'm honestly not say a very good leader, and I think I'm quite scared for the role in as much as it's like people want me or whatever lah, but it's quite scary still. So I think to answer your question, why I didn't approach him in the first place, I think the role of a leader extends beyond just what the Constitution says. I think in as much as you can say that like, oh yeah, maybe the PAD is to act as the middleman between the SCRC and the people, right? I think how one interprets that is more important than what's actually written. And I think personally, I had the pleasure of working under him as a court head. And I think also I've been having a lot of conversations with other people around. I think in as much as I didn't approach him with regards to the specific roles and responsibilities, I like to think I have a clear understanding of what I need to do. And I think more importantly, it's not so much about what I need to do, but how I choose to interpret what is written for me, and how I choose to bring that to fruition with the people that I work with, especially my court heads. So, okay, I think in hindsight, I definitely should have approached him. And I apologize for that, and I think that's not very responsible. But regardless, I hope that I'll still be able to work well, I'll still be able to lead well with the people. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
So just to follow up, you explained why you didn't approach him, but I feel like, how to say, is there a specific reason why you didn't do so? Because whatever you said is valid, but you could have also done it after speaking to him and knowing what your role is, and maybe you could have done even better. You can interpret it however you would like, but is there a reason why you specifically did not choose to approach, even though the 34th JCRC has been encouraging everyone, if we are even planning to run, to at least know the role first before you run for it? Because as a head and as a JCRC member, the roles are very different. I can tell you that. And to not know what you're running for without speaking to Lei Chun, I feel like it's a bit, I don't know, not irresponsible, but more like, you don't care?
Fair. I think I respect that opinion. But I think at the same time, I think everybody also knows that, like, personally, I'm not on the greatest terms with Lei Chun as well. And I think I truly respect that. And I think I still managed to work with him professionally in spite of that. So perhaps maybe, if I were to be very honest, it might be because of that. But even then, I would like to think that it doesn't really come from a place of not caring, but it's honestly quite coming from a place of fear. So, okay, I guess you could point me out for that, for being scared, for being, like, for lack of better words, a pussy. But even then, I hope you'll be able to see my heart for what I want to do for the hall. And okay lah, I agree. Yes, definitely, it is definitely my fault, and I don't deny the fact that I didn't approach him. And yes, yeah, I'm pretty sure that everybody gets that.
Anyway, my point is, it would, as much as whatever you mentioned, I feel like, as much as, whatever you fear and everything, it would also help if you knew the role before running also. At least when they ask specific questions about the role and that kind of thing, you can interpret it however you like, but it will also have you also take into account what the JCRC has to do also lah. Yeah, that's my point.
I understand.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Celine, the future president. So I hope you'll be excited to work with me. So for those of you are elected, that is. So I just want to ask this question to everybody. So how will you make yourself accountable for the goals, visions, or future tasks that you set out to do for your role? Can have the first 4 people to answer this question.
Hi, Celine. I think on the topic of accountability, I think for myself, I like to think I hold myself quite accountable. And I think that stems from the fact that I honestly don't really want to, let people down. I think I really value the opinions of people, and I think I really want them to appreciate not just what I'm trying to do for the hall, but instead see me as someone that, really wants to get stuff done for the better. So I think personally, I would like to hold myself accountable. But beyond that, I think accountability is also something that is inherently involved with the team itself. So I think for my role, I would very largely involve myself in all the nitty-gritty within the cult heads. And I think playing off my own character, I would be more than welcome for them to hold me against it. And I think that being accountable to them doesn't really come from a space of I need to get things done. But I think it's out of a mutual understanding and respect that I think we're all leaders together, we want to grow together, and we want the best for the people around us, the community. So I think on the whole topic of accountability per se, it's important to have check and balances for what we need to do. And I'm pretty sure there's already a lot of systems in place to ensure that we don't screw up. But I think my own personal take on it would be very personally driven, and I think I would extend that honor to the people working under me to help me, push forward to get things done.
Thank you.
Okay, so first let me just reiterate that I believe that our actions are truly based on our whys, and I hope I've reiterated how my passion for this hall would actually fuel me to come and make changes. And this is actually seen in how I myself as a freshie is already stepping up like this to try and effect change. And so how I'm going to make myself accountable would be, firstly, if I've shown you enough that I'm passionate, I hope that you first believe in me. And then practically wise, I believe that for the things that I wanted to change, I would actually set standards and KPIs for the captains to sort of bring that bonding within their teams, and to, let's say, address problems about the general cohesiveness and that inclusivity. I believe that captains shouldn't actually have full reign over their points, and there needs to be some form of, in a way, transparency and discussion so as to effectively execute these changes. Thank you.
Okay, hi. I think the general concern for me is, for your have for me is that how am I going to because I touched on earlier about inclusivity, right? But I understand that this year I haven't really joined a lot of cultural side people. But I feel like because I'm in track, right, I've been able to ask people for their worries about wow, I get caught from this CCA, then I score not enough points. So I feel like being in track, right, it has helped me really get to know people. But it's for more formal ways to keep myself accountable. I feel that I'll ask captains for feedback every single month, and maybe meet up with them for lunch to find out if what I'm doing is okay and whether I'm doing justice for them to help their team and all. Sorry, I forgot to add also. I think also another touchy subject is also the master list. I think as much as we want very good Eusophians back, sometimes a lot of people get a lot of misunderstandings about why we bring this particular senior back, why we bring him back, even though he never really contributes so much to the hall. So I feel that what I'll do to improve this master list situation is maybe work with the captains to come up with more accountability, I guess, you know, to tell them why we must delete this person over another one. Yeah.
So, as mentioned, my vision for Eusoff Hall is for us to encompass sports, cultural, as well as media. And the way I intend to achieve this, as mentioned, was the 2 new strategies as well as 1 enhanced strategy. Firstly would be to tap on the existing strong network that I have with the media industry. Second is to create a safe space where any individuals can unleash their potential and hope to motivate them to become as media creators. And last but not least, it will be to enhance the existing strategies of establishing the importance of meeting deadlines. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, hi. So this question opens to the floor. So all of you here have experienced the COVID hall life one way or another, but do you guys think that you will be able to handle or manage the pre-COVID hall life as NUS opens up, given that you guys don't have any experience regarding that? Yeah, I only want to hear the first 2 answers. Thank you.
Okay, I think this question is quite important to the MD and the media in hall, because the thing is, during COVID, there was a surge of media because a lot of things had to be live streamed, a lot of things has to be in video or photo format. So I think there is actually a very, very important and untapped potential, because we could potentially have this and go on, and it can go on even as the hall opens up. Yeah, so I think this could be a very good idea, and I think on the media side there really isn't that much to change, except maybe less strict S&M rules. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
For me, I would tap onto the fact that I actually know the previous sports director, PAD Joel, because I had a bit of a privilege to work with him as well, since I was the previous track DM also. On top of that, I think I have a lot of connections in terms of like people who have reported for our own IHG games. If you go and check like Red Sports, right, the guy that actually photographed the photos, Iman Hashim, he's actually my close friend lah. So I guess I'll get to, for the media side, since I've already been on like the photography and SMC side, I think there's also some worries about like whether we can come back and like film and all this. So like I think I can tap on like the advice that I have from like my friends and all that, and the previous sports D to find out what can we do better now that we can probably gonna have a full scale IHG.
Okay, thank you.
This question is for the role of PAD. So Joel, just now earlier on, you mentioned about accountability. So my question is, how do you ensure that you have a good work ethic and be a responsible leader when working in JCRC, considering earlier in the year, you disrespected your ex-officio by playing mahjong during meetings and also pushing back choir because of mahjong?
So I think I'd like to firstly check in again. I'm pretty sure I didn't push back choir practice because of mahjong, but without a doubt, I think regardless of whether that's true or not, I feel that, yeah, definitely I have played. I think it was during the CCA fair. The CCA fair, some context for everybody, because half the CCAs that I was in charge for, I think most of the people that came in already came in on day 1. So yeah, day 2, of course, I think me and Kai would know that we went to play. Regardless, I think that's irresponsible of me. I think even then, you went to talk to me about it last. So I think more importantly is about learning from your mistakes. And I think you've made that very clear with generally how I've been working. And I think instead of focusing on the failure and my mistake, which I definitely think is wrong, I think let's look to how I've been working with you so far for the past year. I think regardless, I've been actively trying to prioritize my own work ethic and less on like actually having fun. And I think that's a huge testament for the fact that like, I think my friends would know as I was preparing for this entire rally, I was really quite stressed over it I didn't really have much good sleep yesterday. And so I think, regardless of whatever grievances you might have, I like to think that I am working towards changing myself. And as sad as it is, okay, I understand the JCRC role is really quite difficult. There's a lot of things we need to do. There's a lot of responsibilities. I think that implies that also that I might not have enough time for myself to rest, to have time with my friends and stuff. And I think that's something that I'm willing to sacrifice. And okay, I might say it right now and it might not really be true in the future, but I think I applaud everybody to try and believe me. I think, if anything, I would really want to make a change for Eusoff. As for disrespecting the ex officio during, working, sorry, Lishan, maybe could you be a bit more specific?
Okay, the two events I would like to point out specifically is when first you were playing mahjong during meetings. Secondly, when you literally push back choir meeting to play mahjong. Okay, so for that I have receipts lah. So, but if in any case you feel like you answer the question, it's fine.
Oh, okay. Then on that note, then I would like to implore everybody to understand that I think all of us are in hall more than just for getting things done lah. I think let's be real. I think we want to make the best of our hall experience, our uni experience. So regardless of whether we are here for the right or wrong reasons, I think let's all try and work together to try and actually make the best of it. So yeah, I think once again, I'd like to apologize to you directly, live on Rally, that I think it's still irresponsible for me to have done that. But instead, I think let's be glad and grateful for, the amount of good that's come about. And I'm pretty sure you can attest to that as well. I think CMC has really improved a lot. And yeah, I'm proud now, and I'm glad to have been working well under you.
Okay, thank you.
Can we have one last question from the current JCRC? Are there any more questions from the current JCRC members? We will now open the floor to any member of the audience. If you have any questions, please feel free to come up and ask your questions.
Okay, hello. I have a question for the two sports study candidates. Okay, so firstly, for Robo, I think the concern for you being a sports study candidate is definitely that you, as a freshie with not much leadership experience in Eusoff, you might not be able to understand fully the requirements of the captains and SMC that you manage in the next sem. So, my question to you is, how do you think you can bridge this gap, and what do you think, how do you think your previous experiences may help you to better carry out the role? And then for Luke, I think you're a senior and you've had track captainship experience. But I think the concern is that most of the CCAs that you've been, including SMC, PUBs, and EW, are all quite individualistic in nature. So I think the concern may be that you might be lacking the people management skills in terms of, and in terms of addressing concerns with captains of team sports, right? The issues that they may face managing a team. So similar to the question I posed to Robo, how do you feel that you'll be able to bridge this gap and solve these issues in the future? Yeah. Thank you. Oh, not thank you. You all can answer first then.
So although within Hall I haven't been able to hold a leadership position because I'm a freshie, but I believe that my experience outside of Hall has definitely contributed to how I understand the role of a leader. And that actually includes being a captain of my school team, being a captain of the Youth Touch Singapore team, as well as taking up positions such as an exco member of my touch rugby club, as well as coaching both within hall, the guys and girls, as well as externally with another club. So I believe all these have come into play to shape the way that I lead. And I've learned over time that indeed open communication is very important, and it's much better to just get things out in the open and come to a compromise rather than just keep it in and then have more, in a way, like pent-up anger. Yeah. So, and with that being said, how do I plan to bridge the gap? I have been talking to Bay quite extensively, and I mean, I think I've taken up to like 6 to 8 hours of his time this week, which I feel quite bad for. But I think it is important to understand the roles of the sports D in hall itself. And not only that, I also have connections to previous sports directors. I don't know if you know Matt Jong. I've played with him, and I believe he was actually a really great leader, and I can also seek his advice in situations that I may not be entirely sure, as after all, being a sports D is not something where you are born into, it's more of a learning process. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, hello again, guys. So I understand the concern that everyone has in terms of being individualistic in terms of my comms, since I mean, basically I'm the only one going down to like report for them and like take photos for them. But I'd like to remind you that these comms are not just what you see on the day itself. A lot of it is a lot of coordination behind the scenes where we negotiate and deconflict who's going to go for this event, who cannot make it for this event, and why they cannot make it. And so someone usually has to step up to, cover for this person in case because if there's no one covering, then who's going to report for them, you see? And I think that requires a certain level of teamwork to step up and realize, okay, it's a tough thing for me because I'm sacrificing my own time to account for someone that I might not even know that well, or like for Eusoffians who are like my family. So I feel that already entails that I'm not that individualistic as people perceive me to be. As for my sports, I think I need to reiterate that track and field in hall is actually more of a team event because of relay. And in that, right, you have to, you're only as strong as your weakest link. And in that, we all have to still train together. And I think that still training together and inspiring each other, right, doesn't really entail individualism. There's still some form of teamwork there because, for relay, you have to make sure that it's all the nitty-gritty details of passing the baton, receiving it well, and I think that requires some form of coordination similar to like throwing a truck ball or scoring a try and coordinating the sick movement. It's the same thing. So I feel that there's not much lack of teamwork there for me. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Good answers.
Hi, good evening. So, okay, my first question is for Azek in particular, and my next question will be for the MDs in particular. So, for Azek, as someone with reference to your mentor-mentee system that you proposed, as someone who has tried that for EW video and have failed, why do you think my plan failed, and what are the ways you can implement your goal of a mentor and mentee system? Sorry? Why do you think my plan have failed, and what are the ways that you can implement what your goal is of a mentor and mentee system?
Based on what you said, I feel that probably it was due to the lack of an effective structured program. And that is one of the strategies that I would like to implement. So it's like creating a structured program with detailed planning where we can monitor and track each other's progresses. And I believe that we should also instill the value of being responsible enough to living up to that structured program, because probably maybe you didn't receive like the same level of cooperation with your teammates. And if I were to be elected as a media director, I would definitely emphasize the importance of working together as a team in order to meet deadlines and tasks. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So my next question is for both MDs. Oh, you can take a seat first. Yeah, thank you. So for my next question for both of you all running, Eusoff media team usually moves without a coordinated vision. If there was one vision, what would it be and how would you implement it? Either one of you can go.
Okay, so this is a really interesting question as well. So I'm thinking if EW has a vision, I'm thinking maybe we can have a little bit of personality into the hall pages, because right now everything is looking really formal and it's looking a little bit not that interesting, honestly. So what I actually propose is for the whole page to have like some personalities, and I think EW would come into this very nicely. So what actually we did for CMC was to interject some part of content creation and publication to make it even more interesting, and people would actually be super willing to look at the videos. So in my opinion, I think we maybe can have some content videos like last year's the Eusoff Chit Chats or even the Mamma Mia video. It was honestly really cool and it was funny and people liked it a lot. So yeah, I think this kind of collaboration could really help, especially because I have heard from EW that you are a little tired of doing just clients' work. So I'm thinking y'all can have your own initiatives as collaborations with like maybe CMC, SMC, and things like that to put into the video. Yeah, so I think in that way, y'all can build rapport, which is one way of like gelling the three types of CCAs together. And most importantly, EW can have their own set of products pushed out, and then for the clients, they would kind of have like an idea of what the lead time is and be more understanding towards EW in general. Thank you.
So first and foremost, I would like to place emphasis on social platforms. For example, Instagram and Facebook. So they are the first interface that people are drawn to, and it's the first interface that potential Eusoffians observe. And I think it's important that we should pay attention to the aesthetics, and not only that, but as well as the content that we post, as what Valerie mentioned. And because the way we convey ourselves, our strong community in Eusoff, is through our photos and videos. And if we can make our media look as good as our sports and culture, I feel that it would best represent us that way. For example, we could probably, I would like to implement strategies such as special segments. So given that I would like to promote Eusoff as an all-rounded hall, perhaps we could have these special segments where we have like sports tutorials. We have so many CCAs here in Eusoff. So not only sports, but we can also probably have like a personalized dance, or we can promote Eusoff's volunteering. So I would like to promote different types of activities that are found here in Eusoff. And social media is very influential. So coming from a business perspective, so recently I've tried out this new program, not program, but a series on TikTok for Hannah Flair where I do a week in my life. And I feel that not only can this create memories for myself in hall, where I try to publicize myself as a henna artist who is a uni student living in hall, but to sort of give a stronger message and show the person that I am. And similarly, I would like to do that for Eusoff, to show the strong community that we are.
Okay, thank you.
Hello again. Maybe I will just ask these questions to the two people who haven't really spoken much, VPI and HonGenSec. So, given that Eusoff is celebrating its 65th anniversary next year, what plans do you have to celebrate this milestone?
For Eusoff to actually have a 65th anniversary, it's already an achievement. So as a whole, we should actually celebrate this achievement in terms of all our different pillars. From sports, we already have our IHG, and we are convening for IHG next year. So for my role, I would actually coordinate well with actually the sports D, the elected one, of course, as well as with the convening head, if I can actually help out. Prior to this, the current convening head actually approached me to be the admin head for convening. So I told him that I would actually hand it over to a person that he can find and entrust. Okay, but apart from that, I would actually offer my help towards the sports scene in form of the admin support. And as well for other areas, because of the relaxation of COVID measures, such as DP, it would affect our culture scene in terms of DP to a very large extent, because we would be able to actually hold an actual concert. I think that we can actually approach that as a start to this 65th anniversary. And we can actually make it big, such that we can actually invite our old Eusophians, as well as our alumni, and build greater relations with them. This would also actually help out in terms of our VPE, because they would actually also seek to garner funds and actually donations to grow into that. So that are some ideas that I would have. And if you want to listen out more, I would say that media would actually play a role as well, because it would help us to promote our hall in the form of the media page, whereby on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok, or whatever, we can attract attention, as well as to attract prospective new residents that would be able to contribute to our hall. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, honestly, I haven't thought of anything yet, but yeah. Okay, since like the COVID measures are easing now, right? So we can open up to, let's say, I think previously there was like the hotpot event in Eusoff, so we can bring that back, especially if we get approval from Master, yeah. Then apart from that, we can also have a live audience right now. So like yesterday, we did like live audience for drama. So in the upcoming year, we can also do live audience for like the other cultural CCAs. And also for IHG, we can actually implement an audience to actually go and support your fellow sportsmen. Yeah, apart from that, as a VP, if I'm going to be a VPI, then I can work well with like the SPT head in terms of like suggesting and working alongside on like events, like let's say night cycling, and maybe can implement a more like, to celebrate like the 65th like year in Eusoff, so we can do something more exciting. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, this question is specifically for Joel. So this question comes from Master, who is watching the stream, and for the rest of the SCRC. So as the CMC head, I believe most of the heads were all expected to have discussions with their RFs about their events and stuff like that. So the question is mainly, as a CMC head, why did you not approach your respective RF for this AY for any work discussions? Yes, yeah.
Hi, Sung. Sorry, I got a question to ask first. This is from Master?
Yeah.
I'm actually a bit confused because I believe like me and Nat can attest to the fact that we actually had conversations with like Prof. Titima regarding like our entire workflow.
Okay, so this is supposedly feedback from the RF that maybe perhaps there wasn't enough discussions.
I guess, okay, understand.
Okay.
I think maybe to put a finger to it, I understand that CMC actually didn't have a lot of events in Sem 1. So I think a lot of our plans weren't exactly cancelled, it was postponed. So that inherently meant that a lot of the events were kind of squished together in Sem 2. It was a lot more condensed. So I think on my side, I think at least for the events that were postponed, I think maybe this was my own assumption, that we already had discussed this, and we really agreed to carry on as per normal, as per the previous arrangements, just on another date. So that was my impression for the events that were postponed. As for the events that were carried out in Sem 2 as per normal, so namely coffee, as well as, sorry, the last event got cancelled, but yeah, namely coffee, right, and arts bonding camp. I think those events were mainly ironed out at the start of the year. And I think in terms of like how we managed the entire I think we still stayed true to the whole entire system. We preemptively prepped up the proposals. We did send in to Prof. Titima, and subsequently Mr. Tan for safety approval. And I'm not too sure whether it's of any relief, but I believe Mr. Tan can really attest to the amount of effort we put into making sure safety is a big priority. So, not saying that I don't really know how to answer the question, but I'm just a bit taken aback that the impression that of CMC is that we didn't really work very closely with our RF in charge.
Okay, then a follow-up question. So having had all this experience, how important do you feel having this communication with the RF is?
How important is it?
Yeah. How much did they influence your decision versus how much like...
Okay, I understand. Yeah. I think maybe you can use an example of Nightmare. I think initially when we wanted to plan for Nightmare, we wanted it to be like a haunted house, right? And I think all of us, those that participated, it is a haunted house. But I think some of the safety concerns that was brought about was just the sheer amount of interaction between the drama people as well as the participants. I think that was a cause of concern because of COVID. And I think that was something that Prof. Titima brought up, namely in terms of the script itself. And I think in our discussions with her and with drama as well, like that is something that we definitely overlooked. So I can say for certain that it's really rather important. Initially, like I think our Nightmare plan was it for it to be like based off a Korean like horror movie, and like there's a lot of like close-up action and stuff. But I think we adapted to it, and I think we really took the feedback of Prof. Titima respectfully. On top of that also, I think in order to help mitigate the COVID issues as well, after talking to Mr. Tan, and I'm pretty sure he's also very aware of our measures, like purposefully buying the plastic sheets to act as a physical barrier between the actors and stuff. And albeit maybe in the moment itself there were some lapses of safety, maybe like accidentally like get out here and there, but I think the whole heart of trying to work around the COVID measures, right, is not about just like planning for the sake of planning, but rather planning for the heart of trying to make sure that we're doing the right thing. And I think that's precisely what the RS are trying to do. They're not really trying to like plan events just so that we can have another hall life. Rather, we're trying to plan for events in a very difficult situation so that everyone is as happy to the best of our ability. So, I'm sorry, but I'm just a little bit confused as towards the question now.
No, I think for them, they're just a little bit concerned as to you using your voice, especially since from their point of view, they mainly only heard from Nathaniel. So they were worried that for you running as the next JCRC, how would you use your voice?
I understand, okay.
But thank you for your answers, thank you.
Are there any more questions from the members of the audience?
I got another two questions on behalf of other people. So the first question comes from Aka. This to both, this to Azek only, sorry. Can you explain your plans to track and hold accountable throughout the timeline of projects? I understand where you're coming from, but this is uni with people with different timelines, not a business or a workplace. I'll read the question again. can explain on your plans to track and hold accountable throughout the timeline of projects. Let me rephrase. Could you explain your plan to track and hold accountability of the projects throughout the timeline? I understand where you're coming from, but this is uni and with people with different timelines, not a business or a workplace. Sorry, Haka.
To me, the strategy of having this effective structured program is already a strategy on its own, but it's whether or not the team members are willing to live up to it or not, which is why I would like to bring emphasis to my members, and I like to carefully choose my members to ensure that they can uphold their duties as to what they should be. And as to how we keep up with deadlines, based on my experience, from what I always use is Google Calendar. So perhaps we could have like a shared Google Calendar between the EW members so that we understand deadlines and what are the different tasks that we have to complete.
I think he wants to know more on the elements of your structure in specificity.
I think I mentioned just now about how we need to have, when we create this structured plan, we need to have an understanding of the task first. And I'm sure that Kiana, as the previous MD, she would have definitely practiced this strategy as well, where she creates a timeline. So perhaps I could use hers as inspiration and better improve based on that. But a rough idea of what I have is, first to establish when is the deadline, what are the different things that we need to accomplish, and delegate who needs to do what. And throughout this process, I will monitor them based on what they do.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you for your question.
So the next one is for the both of y'all, and so if y'all have spoken to the EW, or whether y'all have spoken to the EW heads about the challenges that EW faced this year, and if yes, how would you address the problems, and if no, why not? So they want to know whether you have spoken to the EW heads about the challenges that EW has faced this year. If yes, how would you address the problem that we have faced? And if no, why not?
Okay, regarding this, I have actually spoken for around 1 to 2 hours with Yeh Hong and as well as Janine on this issue. So one of the biggest issue would be the late request for photography, video, and live stream. And so I would say one thing. I know. Okay, so I think, in my opinion, for the clients to work alongside EW for our very first collaboration would definitely make the heads and members more accustomed to what exactly is the lead time that we need, and to be more understanding towards our EW wings. So, for example, photo setup, you might think it's just like a click of a camera, but no, there's actually so much more to it. There's a setup, there's like the camera settings, there's like the stands and everything. So the process is actually very, very complicated, and sometimes we have the lack of manpower. So I think if we let our EW wings like work together with the clients, the EW wing will be able to get a clearer understanding of what the clients want, while on the other hand, the clients will be able to actually know and understand why we need the lead time that we actually need. Yeah, so with this collaboration to build rapport, not only will the CCA understand us a little more, but like this might just start a new opportunity to boost our media coverage and publicity even more. Thank you.
So as mentioned, Kiana is quite a close friend of mine, and once in a while she will share with me some of the challenges that she has faced in JCRC. So just very briefly, as a media director, some of the issues that she faced is poor communication between the different Eusoff Works groups, as well as not being able to meet deadlines. So as mentioned, with the effective structured program that I'd like to implement as a media director, I believe that it can fix these issues. However, my drive to become a media director is not only to fix problems that happen in the 34th JCRC, but also to contribute to this hall. So I would like to explain why I would like to take on this role. So I was actually inspired by Kiana. She was a freshie JCRC media, and she led the media scene of Eusoff to greater heights. And I was truly inspired by how she did it, and being a freshie did not hinder her to show her capabilities. And seeing how much joy it brought to her made me want to experience the same happiness as a leader, which is why I want to embark on this new experience as a media director. Thank you.
Hi, hello. This question is for. This question is for the two gentlemen running for sports director. So it's two separate questions. Different questions are for each of you guys. So I will just say both. Then both of y'all think about it and see who want to answer first. Okay? Yeah. So for Luke, right? Mine is more of like a scenario-based question. So in a sense, if let's say you become a sports director and halfway through, right, things starts to like screw up, things are not going well, then people feel that you're not being a very good sports director, you're not leading well, you don't interact with people well, and then they are requesting for you to step down. So what would be your next course of action from this? Okay. Then for Robo, my question is more of your commitments. So I understand you are in computing, so it's going to be, I guess, quite an intensive course relatively. Then you have your truck, external commitments, you know, like your club or your World Cup in a sense. And then your financial advisor stuff, yeah. And also, of course, sports director. And also considering that this is a convening year, so it's definitely a lot more like hardcore. So I just want to understand like how will you like prioritize your these, I would say, big four commitments, and how will you like deal with like conflicts in schedules of like stuff? Yeah. So yeah, that's my question for both of you guys. Thank you.
Okay, so as a freshie, I've been part of about 6 CCAs, and if you include the coaching of the truck girls, that's 7. And I think through this whole experience, even though I may have not been the best at my time management, throughout the process, I was able to learn what I can improve on in the future. And with that being said, initially, if I weren't running for Sports D, my plan was actually to carry out as I wanted, which is to go and join as many sports as possible to effectively try out. Because as a freshie, initially when we first came in, I was left with the impression that if sports were clashing, that we should not even bother trying for the other sport. And later on, when the schedules weren't really fixed, it sort of, in a way, disappointed me because I could have actually put my time and effort into that. So, to continue, by me stepping up to be sports director, I made the call myself to effectively sacrifice this plan that I had to take up this role as sports director. And with regards to my external commitments, I'm still doing them as of now. And because of the sacrifice that I'm making by not trying out the other sports and committing to my role as sports director, I believe that I can handle it well, and my priority will be given to carrying out the role as a sports director. Yeah, thanks.
I think for me, first and foremost, I'll listen to like whoever's giving me feedback. on why I'm not doing my job properly. I believe that we as humans, right, we are still able to learn from our mistakes and be able to move on and carry on and improve ourselves. The only time that I would probably set down is an absolute worst case scenario that there's probably no room for improvement. But I believe that I've shown that I'll be able to improve myself, especially when I'm encountered with adversity. So yes.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Wen Kai, year 2. My question is for the 3 uncontested members, that side basically. Then my question to you all is that if you had to choose someone to take over your role, say something happened to you, then like who is someone in hall that you all will pick, and what character or qualities that this person have that can do your job properly? Yeah, thank you.
Hi, Wen Kai. Obviously, I'll pick you, JK. Okay, I think for the role of PAD, I think the first name that comes to my mind is Nat. I think working with him in CMC, he has been a great blessing, definitely. And especially after all, I think I don't really manage admin very well. And I think I'm quite all over the place, and as much as I have good ideals and I want to push for things. I think Nat covers me in those areas very well. I think he's understanding, he's clear about his goals, and similarly, his heart is for the people as well. I think at least for CMC, our com heads really appreciate our leadership. And I think, yeah, that's the first thing that came to my mind. And I'm pretty sure he's a very sensible person as well. He's been involved in multiple culture CCAs in year 1. And I think, yeah, he's a solid lad. So that's the first thing that comes to my mind. And I think it's very based on the complementary character traits that he has. So I think that's my first knee-jerk reaction, and I think it's very related to also who I am as a person. So yeah, props to you, Nat.
Okay, I ask you, your question is, who will replace me, is it?
Like who will you choose to replace you and why?
Okay, the person I'll choose is you. Okay, the reasons why, right? Because when I work with you in year 1, I don't know why you're asking us also. Anyways, the reason why I chose you is because when I work with you in year 1, you're a very driven person. So actually, when you set your mind to it, right, you actually complete it. Yeah. And I can see like the way that you actually like show these qualities in terms of yeah, your like how you're super driven, right? In terms of like your sports, like you're a tracker. I can see like the work you actually put in. Then after that, I work with you in like SMC also. So it's like as a SMC marketing, right? You actually delivered. So I will actually choose you to replace me. Thank you.
I run now. I run against you.
Okay, for me, I think it would be my proposer, Phoebe. Okay, I would explain very shortly because this year she has been working under me as well, under elderly services as well as expats. And I can tell that she's actually very meticulous in her work, which is actually a very valuable trait in the role of Horn GenSec. She also coordinates her comms well and actually submit work plans, submit projects, everything on time. And I think that's a very, very important trait in the role of Horn GenSec. In fact, I actually approached her to be the SSD, but then she is going for exchange, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, this question goes out to both sports directors, both people running for sports directors. Two of you have quite similar visions to make sports more inclusive in Eusoff. Could you guys share a bit more details on how exactly you would like to make this happen, aside from reviving existing plans like fun sessions?
Okay, one thing I really thought about, right, is like, you know, how there's this perceived, like, idea of like culture and sports are very separated, you know. So like maybe we can introduce more events to like combine the both. So like in that way we can get the cultural people to, you know, do more sports things while they're still doing their cultural things. We can do that maybe through like a carnival. Yeah, that's my idea. But also, yeah, I think for me, I think this what really struck out is how like there's a lot of interest groups, like, you know, like Chiefs of Eusoff, Cats of Eusoff. Yeah, then I really want to capitalize on like this, like, you know, these informal ways of like including people into like our like sporting scene, because I think it's very daunting, like suddenly, okay, I think I will speak for myself, I think it's very daunting suddenly, like you hear me in my hoarse voice come out to you like, hey bro, you want to go like 2.4 run, or like you want to like, let's go like run 400 meters or something like that, you know. Yeah, it's quite daunting, but like, you know, like I think the first step that comes to it, right, is when like, you know, these established athletes like really bring themselves down to earth, and then like suddenly put it out there into like all these big groups, and suddenly say like, hey, let's have like a fun session. And like, it doesn't matter that maybe like it's cliques versus cliques, but the family aspect is still there, because we're like coming down together and like, you know, playing with each other, and like I think that's a beautiful thing. Like, yeah. Okay, thank you.
So as I mentioned just now in my speech, I was actually coming up with the idea of having this provisional period during maybe the first 2 weeks to allow Eusophians to really go out and try as many sports as you can, rather than saying you are interested and then it being labeled as official training, which contributes to attendance points. So that's one of the ways. And I mean, with regards to interest groups, I think it could also extend to maybe doing things like screening games in the DH. Like, as of now, with all of us being able to sit in the DH and eat dinner together, I think by screening, I mean, so far the things that have shown that we've been screening is culture, which I really appreciate also. But I also believe that some games can be included where friends can maybe discuss, oh, why do I do this in this sport? And that way, everyone can learn more about each other's sport in a way. And I think another way, a practical way that I was thinking about was possibly allowing individuals who got cut to actually come back and train if they wanted to. Now, some may question whether the quality of training will be affected, but I believe that as of now, the first cut system is a bit too short, where you may be only going for training like maybe like 4 to 6 weeks, which is a bit too short in my opinion. So if an individual were to get cut, the passion is just gone just like that. But if they get cut, I would want to extend the invitation to invite them back to train if they are interested. However, I believe that that does not constitute awarding them attendance points, to clarify that. Yeah, so it's really based on interest, and if you really want to, you can come back after you get cut. Yeah, so the line would probably be drawn maybe like the second or closer to the final cut, where the final team would eventually be smaller, and that they can have more concentrated and focused training to eventually lead up to the IHG season. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
We have one last question from the floor.
Hello. Okay. I'm sorry. I just wanted to ask a question relating to this is a scenario, because basically in the past AY, maybe there are struggles that the JCRC has faced, and some of you may or may not know this, or like some of the instances. So for example, for the case of SEM 2 residents, after the CCA fairs have ended in SEM 2, and they do not have enough points to stay, and they are struggling to find CCAs. So how would you help with the as previously mentioned, the transparency between JCRC, SCRC, and residents in situations such as this, and also maintain the confidentiality and professionalism. Thank you. For the first two people who want to answer.
Okay, for me, I'm going to ask in the assumption that I do get the sports director role. So I think it's pretty obvious that semester 2, right, the sporting scene is a little dead, besides like IBG. So like, I'll just be for me, I'll just pump out this message at the start of the AY, like maybe after, and also again after IEG that there can be I think, because just now I also mentioned there's going to be fun sessions I would want to have fun sessions for people who are want to get back to sports after the dust has settled after ISG. I would just keep on reiterating the point that these are purely fun sessions and you can't really get points from that. So I feel that transparency, right, and telling them that it's very hard for you to get points and I mean, the sad thing is that you have to join in Sem 1 in order to do these sports. I believe that with how I've been so transparent with a lot of people, I think some of them ask me, even as captain, hey, can you master list me? Can you do this? Can you do that? But I'm always very transparent, telling them you have to be objective about it also. How much have you contributed to the hall? How much have you done? And I think it will also depend on what they're doing in semester 2 also, in terms of their committees. Because I think my friend Benji over there, right, he was a Sem 2 resident also. But he made the final cut. He made the final cut for staying, man. It shows his commitment to hall. And I think that this is where we need to be objective and realize that these people have the intention to give back to hall. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Hi. So I think with regards to the Sem 2 residents, right, specifically, I think to be wholly frank, I think inherently they have a harder time trying to get points. I think we need to be very clear and aware of that problem. I think this problem doesn't really stem about because it's inherently Sem 2 or they are busy or that stuff. But I think it's inherently due to the nature of how hall timelines the stuff. So I think I was talking to some people about it, right? I think everybody agrees that a large proportion of the points as well as activity, right, is centered around IHG. And I think to be very fair, it makes sense for Sem 2 residents to not be able to join sports because I think the implications are quite high, considering the team, considering the quote-unquote stakes. And I don't think that's a right or wrong decision. I think that it's an executive decision by the JCRC and SCRC. As for how to potentially mitigate these problems, I think it's inherently related to a bigger point system. And I think with regard to the point system itself, I briefly mentioned earlier, I think it's a very difficult thing to manage because it's very hard to quantify and qualify also the amount of work, let's say a comm does, or let's say how much culture does also. And I think for myself, for instance, choir, right? We didn't have a lot of performances in Sem 1, and we only had one performance in Sem 2. But even then, I think it was very difficult for me to fairly give out the points. I think that inherently is just because of how the point system works. It's by merit, and inherently, if I try to give, I guess, more points to more people, especially for maybe the people that I really deserve it, that inherently means that some people might be left out. And I think, to be very frank, let's say for the culture scene, because we have a smaller body pool of members, right? Let's say the bell curve will have a, I guess, stronger effect. And let's be fair, I don't think everybody's slacking in the culture also, right? So I think that's a bigger problem at hand, and it's not something that can be easily fixed. So I think I'm aware of it, and it's, I guess, something that the JCRC, the future JCRC, has to work together. And I think to tap on what Luke was saying about visibility, I was watching some of the rallies of the past, and I think something that was mentioned was also bringing about a summarized CCA booklet at the end of the semester to potentially summarize and give credit where credit is due. Maybe because some events were cancelled, therefore we lowered some of the points here and there. And I think the idea of visibility is not so much about communicating the ideas, but making sure that the higher management is fair and is clear about what you want to do. And I think decisions are not made because of just making decisions, but because of the logic and the clear understanding of the bigger picture at hand. So yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Hi. So my final question. So this is a question open to the floor. The SCRC and JCRC have made sudden decisions to change rules and to come up with new regulations in the middle of planning and in affecting the welfare, the events of the hall. As the new JCRC, how would you put these new regulations in such a way or relay this information to the hall without affecting the livelihood of the residents, the events, the welfare and well-being of the hall?
Sorry, I walk very slowly, so I'm sorry. I think with regards to relaying information, right, I'd like to draw an example. So when we were planning for events in CMC, right, one big issue that we had was like the capacity limit. And I think the sheer amount of like fear of getting COVID. I think both me and Nat were a bit like taken aback because like after, I think there was this period of time where the Singapore's guidelines were a little bit more lax as compared to hall guidelines. And we were a bit confused as to why that was the case. But I think something that was done very well, right, was that the JCRC communicated to us and he said that like we want to err on the side of caution and play a bit safer. And I think on top of that, there were multiple reasons beyond just the regulations. Like for instance, the potential of like closing down all hall activities if like we get a lot of COVID cases here and there. And I think given that in mind, right, both me and Nat were very, I guess, encouraged. And we are kind of like rest assured that like the SCRC has the best of interest for the hall in mind. And it's not really all fun and games. I think ultimately, it's about making the right decisions. And right decisions are quite subjective. So there's no hard and fast rule. And in order to help relay information, I think the first step forward would be having a good working relationship, not just in terms between the JCRC and SCRC, but as well as JCRC and the members under you. And I think with a good working relationship, then naturally, you will have open communication. And I think that is the heart of what visibility is. It's about understanding the reasons why we do stuff.
We will be now moving on to the Mentimeter questions.
Running SD and PAD, should sports and cultural contributions be viewed equally or should more weight be placed on one than the status quo?
For me, I feel that it will definitely depend on like the scale of the event. Like, our first answer as a sports director lah. So like, I feel like IG is awarded a lot of points, right? Because like it's a hall-wide event. You're wearing the jersey in yellow, right? To like show like you're the best of Eusoff, you know. And then this is what we have against the other halls. So like I believe that entails a certain amount of credit lah, that to show that you train a lot and like, yeah, is like I'm good enough lah to deserve these points. But at the same time also, I feel like on the cultural side, the impression that I get, right, is that a lot of people have to join a lot of cultural things just to like make up for the points that they didn't get through their sports. So I feel like one way maybe we can, you know, scale it properly is maybe like make it clear how like cultural events are, like we put into perspective the cultural events and how big they are on a scale like as compared to like ISG maybe. Yeah, and I think like if I'm elected, I'll be able to work with I'll be able to work with the PAD since like, I mean assuming he gets it also lah. I'll be able to work with him because like, you know, we are batch mates and like both of us play sports also. And okay lah, fun fact, I used to dance a bit, but that was a bit, yeah, okay, sorry. Yeah, okay, but okay, that's not the important point. Okay, so the important point is that both me and Joel, right, if we are elected at for the same committee, right, we're able to work together because like we can reach a consensus of like, you know, which one deserves more points, like, you know, like ISG or like this event that, a hall-wide dance event maybe, or hall-wide choir event, like which one does it entail the same like intensity of points. I think because like we are batchmates and we'll be able to like communicate better lah and like come to an understanding of which one is more important at that given point in time lah. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, I think this is like quite a lovely question, so thanks for asking this, whoever you are. I think firstly, I'd like to answer as a sports player also. So I think we need to be very frank and understand that I think the impressions that a lot of us have is that Eusoff is a sports hall. I don't deny that fact, and I think there's value in that because that's the prestige of what Eusoff is. And I think hashtag still defending champs still means something. So I think without a doubt, there is an importance on like making sure our sports thrive. But I think the important thing here is not to make it thrive at the expense of culture. So in terms of the weightage as well as the status quo, I think the key idea here is to ensure that both sides of the, house is aware of the amount of work and amount of time that we put into, making sure that we get things done. I speak for maybe like dance. I've dropped by like EDC once or twice, and I'm like roughly also seeing the amount of work they're putting in for DU. I think I wouldn't compare it like one-to-one, because like comparing sports to like dance is like comparing an apple to a bitter gourd. But instead, I think the amount of work that they put into trying to perform, trying to get things clean, it's more than enough value for us to appreciate. And I think the key idea here is not so much about trying to weigh it nicely, weigh it perfectly, because it's very difficult to balance out. But instead, I think there needs to be more conversation between the JCRC's members to ensure that I think everything is a little bit more fair. And I think on top of that also, I keep bringing back to the point system thing, because I think it's a very contentious topic right now. A lot of people are a little bit unhappy. I was talking to a Raffles friend, and this sportswoman, she got 120 points for joining like 4 sports. So I'm not saying that that's right or wrong, and I'm pretty sure she put in a lot of work. But I like to give credit to the JCRC this year, because I feel, in as much as like maybe there are some like mishaps here and there, or like some lapses, I think the point system is still predominantly fair. It's a difficult system to handle, and there will always be grievances lah. So moving forward, I think I'm committed to try to work with the sports D and ensure that I think the points are fair to the best of our ability. Yeah, correct. Oh, and then I think on top of that as well, at least for the culture and comms CCAs, I think because our pool of members are a little bit smaller, I speak for culture at least, right? I think there needs to be extra effort to ensure that we don't feel left out. Yeah. So to answer your question, yeah, I have no answer to this, and there needs to be thought put into it lah. And I think hopefully you get where I'm coming from. There's no straight answer to this. Thank you.
I think I just want to start off by saying that it's difficult to essentially weight equally because sports and culture are just entirely different. Sports has like in a way a competitive nature. Dance is more of expression and yeah, things like that. So I believe that there's no real perfect answer to this. But the important thing is actually for us to come together as a JCRC to come up with something that is, in a way, something that could satisfy the needs and wants of our residents. And that comes from receiving feedback and also gathering more information and suggestions on what we could possibly do. But if there were to be a metric, I guess it could be the hours you put into each sport, which I believe it's quite a quantifiable way of reasoning. Yeah, thanks.
Due to time constraints, we'll be only answering this question from NT. We will close the Q&A segment now. And with that, we have come to the end of this year's JCRC rally. The voting portal will be open at 11 p.m. tonight, and it will be closed by tomorrow on 2nd April 2359. Do remember to cast your votes. Thank you. Two.